everybody on LinkedIn that has prematurely congratulated me on being 15 years here with the broadcast company. Almost 30 years of doing this. You know, my parents came into town last night, and I haven't seen them in 5 years. And it's just one of those things. And they love Idaho, and they've come in to go to the Caldwell Night Rodeo. And, you know, again, the gene must have skipped with me because they love the West and the Western lifestyle. I love the people, but I couldn't tell you a cow poke from a cowboy, from a cow this to a cow that. But I sure do love the people of Idaho, and I you know, just how we've all aged. And like I said, it's been almost 15 years here, and then almost 30 years. It's hard to believe. Time has gone by, and the news cycle continues to roll. By the way, one of the ways you can keep up with the ever-changing news cycle in and around the country, in and around the world, is something that we call the free KIDO Talk radio app. We would love for you to join it. We call it the App Yap Club. All you have to do is, if you have an Apple phone, I know, Bo, you're not an Apple guy. Why pay for anything more than, what Android came out with 2 years ago? Okay, Bo, thank you for that. See, Bo and I have worked together so long, I can just actually hear what he has to say. He doesn't have to say anything to me. But if you're an Apple person, it's the App Store. If you're one of these people that are frugal and fiscal conservatives like Bo, the Android, so it's Google Play. Sweet William, Sweet William's, no, it's too early for Sweet William today. All right, Sweet William, thank you very much. You're protesting the Monday mornings, if you will. And it seems to be a point that we're almost back from our endless cycle of summer vacations. Even if you didn't go anywhere, just to sit at home and to sleep in is a vacation. That's what a lot of people don't understand about the morning drive, the morning this, the morning that. It's way too early to be driving so crazy in and around the connector, in and around 84, just in and around everywhere. But we seem to be getting ready for that. Of course, school starts again the 14th. So, ha, 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 little kids, summer is over. Ha, 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 teachers, back to the grind. Ha, 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 Kevin Miller had his week off. So that's about it. Politically, we'll talk a little bit about that CBS Sunday Morning big thing where they had Joe Biden actually say, yeah, they got me. Nobody likes to admit when they've gotten you, especially if you're, a person of pride, a person of this. There's a guy his name is Ric Flair. And a lot of people will say, hey, dude, Ric Flair is over now. He's this, that. Everybody knows who Ric Flair is. And I would say that back in the 80s, I was watching the classic Ric Flair. And Ric Flair, whether he was souped up on any of the drugs or he was just one of the most brilliant creative guys in all of entertainment, he's a professional wrestler. But I love this line. When he would lose the championship, and again, those things are predetermined, but he would go, do you think I like walking around town? And they go, hey, now, Bo, you got to look at me on this one. Hey, there goes the guy who used to be the champ. There goes the guy who used to wear the big pounds of gold. And really, that's what Joe Biden has become. Okay, Bo, you can go back to doing your job. But that's really what Joe Biden has become. There goes the guy who used to be the champ. Now, the other day I was playing a song from the Cars, and you might not know who the Cars are. And I know Mike and Caldwell does. God rest, rest in peace, Rick Ocasek and others. But the Cars were a classic band, I think out of Boston in the 80s. But they have this song, My Best Friend's Girl, or if you're a really old person, Rick Springfield's Jesse's Girl. I Want Jesse's Girl. Well, Joe, with the presidency, I mean, he's just counting the days. He's a fuddy-duddy. He was a good old Joe until he wasn't. And just like everything, whether it's your employer, whether it's this, whether you're that, the useful idiot that Joe Biden has become is done. So they're done with Joe. So Joe is out. And he gets to sit there and look at somebody that everybody thought was a joke, Kamala. Nope, I'm not going to say Kamala the Ugandan giant, which was a wrestler in the 80s, Kamala. So basically, you're going to sit there and, do your own thing and watch someone pretty much steal your spotlight. And like I said, politicians at any level are not normal people because you have to be crazy to put up with the crazy. I mean, you have people going after J.D. Vance's wife because she's of Indian descent. And then he has to answer those questions. And life is too short for those things. But the politician craves this. And maybe it's because of a calling to public service. Maybe it's because this is what they were bred to do, but they crave it. Let's go to Ron in New Plymouth with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Top of the morning to you, Ron. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Not bad. I wish I were as awake as you are.
I remember, I'm a little older than most people, but I remember when they used to take big areas in the forest and they'd clean them right to the ground. Log them and then clean everything, and then they'd go in and reseed them after they would do this. And they were some pretty large areas, and that's part of what they did to make our forest safer. And then also, you were in the spring and the fall, you could run into huge bands of sheep that were either going to the mountains or coming back. But you don't see this anymore. And that's part of the reason why we have these fires, is because they shut the logging down. I don't know where we get all our logs now, but they used to build logging roads to go into these areas so they could truck the logs out. But you don't see that anymore.
No, you don't.
But I remember I was just a youth when this happened, but I have not seen that for many, many years.
Well, and do you see a lot more fires?
Oh, yeah. They used to have lookouts built up in the mountains. So they had guys up in the mountains in these lookout towers. And I don't see them anymore. They may be there, but I don't see them. And anyhow, since the government took over, it's what you got.
Okay. Well, anything else you'd like to share with us?
Well, my garden's doing pretty good.
Well, we appreciate that, yes.
Come out.
Yep, we'll be coming out as soon as it cools off.
You're one of them guys that don't like the heat?
You're right about that. Now, when the cold weather comes, I'm good.
Well, it won't be long. And once we get into August, it starts to cool off.
Well, I appreciate that. You're a pretty cool customer yourself, brother.
Well, I appreciate your program. I appreciate what you do and your attitude and everything. I'm glad we have you out here.
Well, I'm glad to be out here. Otherwise, I'd have to get a real job, work like you do.
Yeah, wouldn't that be terrible?
Ron, you have a great day, sir.
Thank you. It's good to talk to you.
Great to talk to you. Starting off on the right side with Ron and Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Again, back to what Ron talked about, really relaying what we talked about in the 5 o'clock hour, which was a replay of our 9 o'clock hour. We were talking about fires and, people in the Emmett area losing their homes. Please pray for those folks. Also, our friend Doug in Mountain Home, glad that he has survived his heart surgery. We've got Liberal Steve on the mend, Doug on the mend, everybody on the mend, and that's great. And as I said before, because this is an early hour, we're a little bit more informal. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, that for the fourth year in a row, this program has been nominated to by the National Association of Broadcasters. We're finalists for the Marconi Awards. Now, many of you recall 10 years ago we won the award. We have been nominated 5 times, I think. Once in 2001, and when you're a finalist, that means you're the best in the country among all radio formats, which means we're going against sports radio, country radio, top 40 radio, all sorts of radio, and usually there's 1 or 2 talk things, so we're the number 1 talk show because there's no other ones in our category, which is pretty incredible. Now, it's funny to me, and I'm going to get a little pithy here. And, you got Hiddle and Diddle and Dabble and Dibble, and the powers that be within the great media organizations that resonate in the Treasure Valley. They always, are quick to pump up their useful idiots that are their friends and such. But we go to a national competition. We're the best in the country once again. And crickets. Well, most of those folks aren't up anyway. So, okay, that's my pithy comment of the day. Let's get back to what happened last night, but it wasn't last night. It was yesterday morning on CBS This Morning, one of the great programs of all time, where Bob Costa, who used to work at the Washington Post, now is transitioned to television, had an exclusive with Joe Biden. By the way, Joe Biden, our friend Joe Biden. I hate when you press the button and it doesn't work. Joe Biden has done one more national interview than his vice president. Let's take a listen.
Look, the polls we had showed that it was a neck-and-neck race. Would have been down to the wire. But what happened was a number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races. And I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, why did so, and I thought it'd be a real distraction.
He thought it would be a real distraction. In other words, and Tucker Carlson talked about this, and who knows if it's true, but it sure does resonate enough to be true. Seymour Hersh, who has broken some big stories, sometimes he's been on the outs. He's kind of like the Glenn Beck of liberal writers. But Seymour Hersh wrote a story, said that I heard, and that's what I love about this show. Well, I heard Glenn in Nampa's taking the day off. Well, Glenn's working. I heard Jerry in Middleton's not working today at all. It's just one of those things where you get by with kind of a sleight of hand. It may not be true. It usually isn't true, but you go, instead of saying this is what happened, you go, well, I heard. So Seymour Hersh came up with a story. And if you're a follower of anything on social media, this thing blew up a couple weeks ago where apparently Joe got a call on Saturday night. Because remember, Joe was going to hang in there.
Thanks, Obama.
And he got a call from, hi, everybody.
Thanks, Obama.
Barack Obama. Hello, everybody.
Thanks, Obama.
And basically Obama said, look, we've got Harris signed off. We're going to give you the 25th Amendment, and you're done. We're going to boot you from office, Joe, unless you bend the knee to Kamala. Unless you bend the knee and give yourself the boot. And apparently Pelosi and Jeffries and everybody was in on it. And Biden had no choice. And here you have Biden on CBS News saying, hey, man, they got me. Nancy Pelosi had this response.
I didn't accept the letter as anything but a letter. I mean, there are some people who are unhappy with the letter. Let me say, some said that some people were unhappy with the letter. I'll put it in somebody else's mouth. Because it was it didn't sound like Joe Biden to me. It really didn't. So,
I think they should redo the Muppets and they should have Joe and Nancy up on the balcony. Wouldn't that be great? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. That's Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Covering those stories, we appreciate it. In fact, there's a local story that's getting a lot of run lately, and it's about these solar farms. Maybe you've read about it. I know David Ferdinand talked to us about this. But apparently they want to build this big giant solar farm in Ada County, and now the people are saying we don't want the big solar farm because it's going to mess up the environment. And it was like a farmer who's selling his land, I believe in Cuna, and then the guy goes, nobody really cared about nobody really cared about my farm when I was farming, and nobody wants to farm. And it's between am I going to sell out to the developers, or am I going to sell out to the solar farm people? And the solar farm people came up with more money, and now the community doesn't want the big solar farm. And I thought, what about the greatest change in our beloved state, Idaho? There are a lot of people that move to Idaho. There are a lot of people that move to Idaho and then they're mad because we're not raving mad conservatives like they are in, let's say, South Carolina. And quite frankly, before we get to Pete and Mount Home, I'm so tired of Montana. You like Montana, don't you? Do you? Yeah. Mrs. Miller's family is from Montana, and the Montana people are good people, but I'm jealous of Montana. Do you know, Bo, what happened in Montana over the weekend? No, of course not, because hopefully you were doing something else besides revolving around the crazy world of politics. So, and Bo, what are you, 25, 26, something like that? 27? Oh, I'm so sorry, Bo, I'm so sorry. 27. Very better than being 57 or 37 or 47. But anyway, I'm getting to you, Pete. Hang on. So Saturday night, as I'm getting ready for the East Coast Millers to come in, I get on Twitter, and how I've tried to put myself to sleep is Donald Trump. It's 10 o'clock at night, and guess where he is? Bozeman, Montana. And all the Montanans, ha, 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 Donald Trump's come to our state. And I'm like, yeah, good for you, because you're trying to get rid of John Tester, Dave Tester's uncle, who has not been beaten. And Montana is a state, again, where you have, Yellowstone and you have everything else. And they're going to spend probably $50 to $100 million on that Senate seat. And there's Donald Trump in Montana. Good for you, Montana. I'm happy for it. Would we love Donald Trump to come to Idaho? Have we been talking about that for almost 10 years? Yes. Will he come to Idaho? Who knows? Pete in Mountain Home with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Kevin Miller, this is like a new topic.
Yes.
I have perhaps a project for our crime-fighting Attorney General, Raul Labrador.
If I were that guy, I wouldn't listen to you, because everybody gives him projects. You ever heard of a guy that's so busy?
I think this is something he ought to look into. Comes under the First Amendment. Apparently, in Great Britain, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, R-O-W-L-E-Y, has threatened to arrest any U.S. individual and extradite them to England if they are using social media to post hateful or disinformation speech after all their riots concerning the Muslims over there.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, well, maybe Idaho should send a note to Sir Rowley that this is a violation of our First Amendment rights, and if he tries it, he will be arrested and extradited to America.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Nah, won't happen.
No, good luck with that, Pete.
Yeah. And I guess, I think he's mostly aiming this at Elon Musk.
Well, Elon Musk will have a big interview with Donald Trump tonight. Hope it goes better than his one with Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, and I don't think Elon Musk actually cares too much about Sir Mark Rowley.
Well, it was a good try, Pete.
I hope your folks are not getting too stifled by the smoke.
Well, they just got in late last night, so, in the East, they have, the pure, nice air. Here, we don't.
Yeah. In fact, you ever go on the traffic webcams that the Idaho Transportation Department has?
Dave Burnett has a big room with it. He's got a big screen of it, so occasionally I'll go in there and look. Okay,
if you look at their pictures, I was doing this yesterday, where the flying Y is. Man, it is smoky there yesterday.
Yes. I would agree with you.
And I agree with your prior caller. This is because we've given up on actually harvesting timber.
Yeah?
We'd rather just let it burn, apparently.
Well, you remember that song by Blue Oyster Cult, Burn Out the Day?
Yeah.
Burn Out the Night.
Anyway, I'll let you go, but I just wanted to say, welcome back from the vacation, too.
Yeah, it's the sad thing about vacations. You have to come back.
Well, yeah.
What do you make of Joe saying that he got the boot? They got him.
Oh, he did get the boot. And have you seen? My question on that is, who's running the country now? Kamala's out on the campaign trail all the time, never talking to the media, never answering any questions, never doing a press conference, and Joe's just sitting on the beach in Rehoboth Beach or wherever.
Yeah.
So is there anyone running the country? I guess, Obama probably is.
Well, you remember, Obama just wanted a useful idiot.
And he certainly got one.
Yeah.
And he's got another one lined up, too. Oh, I shouldn't have said that, should I?
It is amazing, though, how many people are just fooled by her. And people just want no conflict. People just want no really whatever. They just basically want to hang out and have a good time. Like Chris Troupa says.
Go enjoy your beer and ride your ATV and watch sports. We'll run the country.
Yeah. And the other thing that I saw is now people seem to think she will do as good a job on the economy as Donald Trump will.
I know.
After 4 years of tanking the economy.
But it really comes down to, Pete, we've changed. And nobody wants conflict. Nobody wants to have a debate anymore. Everybody just wants to get along, man. And you see this woman, now, whether you believe she's cosmetically appealing or not in her pink, purple pantsuit. A lot of people, I know a lot of women think that pantsuits are appealing, but, me, I'm a dress guy. I'm sure you're a dress guy. And, she's running around with the guy who is her first husband, his second wife, because he cheated on his first wife with a nanny. I believe it was a blonde nanny when the nanny was taking care of his kids, so he's of ill repute with his character. But we all don't judge anymore. America's a bad, racist country. Let's just do this because it's going to make our racial relations better, which unfortunately it won't.
Well, kind of like Obama was going to make them better, and he made them a lot worse.
Yeah, that was the defining point of my career, not getting on the Obama train.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would be in New York, not in Boise.
In New York City?
I would have been the it guy.
It's a good thing you made it here, Kevin, because if you were in New York City, you probably would have been killed by now.
Pete, thank you for the call. Appreciate that. By the way, let's go to the Yap Yap lovers. Has anyone noticed the significant increase in homeless in Boise? Idaho strong. Yeah, I would agree with you, but according to Madam Wonderful,
Idaho cast 9 votes for Bernie Sanders and 16 for our next president, Joe Biden.
She's solving the homeless problem. So glad that Camp Rainbow Gold got loved on with so much this week. We'll be sending a donation to them. Thank you, Mike in Caldwell. We will be doing that. We will be having our friends from Camp Rainbow Gold on this week as well. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. They say stop freaking, call Beacon. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Insulation Studio, traffic now working an accident at Orchard and Fremont. That's just north of Emerald. Watch for emergency vehicles there. Otherwise, on the freeway, we're looking pretty good coming out of Canyon County into Ada County. What if your bank account paid you? Get paid to bank when you open a new checking account at Horizon Credit Union. Put some extra cash in your pocket. Visit hzcu.org/getpaid to find out how. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Oh, it's all right. Never mind. High today of 96, low tonight 68, high tomorrow 89. Not bad for the Caldwell Night Rodeo, 89, 90, 87, 89, 95, 95 throughout the weekend. And wish everybody in Caldwell going to the Caldwell Night Rodeo a great time. Hope you have fun. We're having fun here this morning, going over the spin cycle, if you will. Everybody telling everybody else that Tim Walz is a great guy. He's the All-American guy and blah, blah, blah. But let's get back to this, and not to make it too much about Kevin Miller. Because as we know, Kevin Miller likes to talk about Kevin Miller. But you ever been dumped? You ever been dumped? Nobody likes to be dumped, especially if you're the president of the United States.
No. Don't let him go. Let him.
Yeah, it's all about getting dumped. Joe Biden doesn't want to admit that he got dumped. He got dumped. Sorry, Joe. You got the boot. You gots to go, Joe. And Joe Biden got the boot, got dumped by his own people. He got dumped by Kamala. He got dumped by Nancy. He got dumped by everyone. And I can remember a time when, oh man, I'm trying to think of, and again, if you'd love to share your thoughts with me, 580-5436, 580-KID. I'm trying to think of the worst firing that I ever got. The one coming from here? Well, maybe. Now, this would be liberating because then I can go just sleep in, allegedly, until I don't know, what would be a good backup career? At FedEx and UPS, you have to work. Those drivers work, man, 10, 12 hours a day. So anyway, the grass always seems greener until you're actually mowing the grass. I'm trying to think of the worst firing I got. Probably maybe Nashville or Pittsburgh, the last couple. And like I said, you're like Ric Flair. There goes the guy who used to be the champ. And Joe Biden is one of these people that, and look, or when your boss gets fired. I can remember, I think a couple of my bosses have gotten fired. And you wonder what's going to happen because, you kiss the ring, you bend the knee, and you have a system of how it works in the corporate world or what have you. And then when the boss goes, then boom, you're done. But how would you like to be Joe Biden? What? And everybody had your back. Everybody had your back. And then boom, they say you have to go because your time is over. And I'm going to go back to being fired in Birmingham, Alabama. And it's funny because you always know when you're going to get it or when someone's going to break up with you because people don't talk to you, people don't do this, and then we try to rationalize. And I can remember Saturday morning when it wasn't Challenger, it was Columbia that blew up. And I can remember yelling at John Mounce on the phone, even though I didn't work there anymore, to go get the news lady, go get Pat Smith, do some continuing coverage. And you know what? That tragedy was covered locally, doing great local radio that really doesn't exist anymore. And as I'm sitting there, I mean, it's true. You take a look at local radio today, you've got people talking about Tom Cruise jumping off the Olympics. Local radio today, people are going, hey, what's your favorite flavor of Coke? And it works. Those people are very successful. And some people, like our friends, Huey and Dewey, they talk politics. They do a good job. They're good guys. We try to keep local radio going here. But it was great. It was covered with passion. And on one hand, I was very proud of my crew that I built. On the other hand, I missed it. And so really, not to play Dr. Phil here with Joe Biden at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, it's got to be tough for him because now he just sits at the beach. He can't really sniff anybody's hair. Nobody really likes him anymore. And it's one of those things that here's another workism. You ever get that point you're lucky you have a job? So here you have basically the Democrats have said, Joe, you're lucky you have a job.
Look, the polls we had showed that it was the neck-and-neck race. Would have been down to the wire. But what happened was a number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races. And I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, why did so, and I thought it'd be a real distraction. No, he was told he has to go. And now we sit back and we have Kamala Harris talking about how great she is. And the media actually is so in the tank for Kamala that she's sitting back and they're saying, you're right. Kamala doesn't have to do interviews because it's all about the campaign. Kamala doesn't have to do anything because why should she? Why should she have to do anything? Because they even agree, well, it would be bad policy. Juan Williams, if you caught it on Fox News Sunday right here on KIDO Talk Radio, Juan Williams saying, well, it would get in the way of her wonderful poll numbers right now. You have to be accountable. It's like getting a job. She's gotten a job without a job interview.
Okay, you've now asked me 3 questions about comments that I made 3 years ago. Uh-huh. I wonder what Kamala Harris thinks about the fact that she supported policies that opened the American southern border. I wonder what Kamala Harris thinks about the fact that she lied to the American people about Joe Biden's mental middle facility for the office. You are interviewing me, Dana, because I respect the American people enough to sit down for an interview.
I appreciate that.
Kamala Harris has been the nominee for 3 weeks. She hasn't sat down for a real interview.
Believe me, we are asking. You're not going to get a disagreement there.
But the point is, Dana, you've got me for 15 minutes or however long you have me. We should be talking about public policies that matter. How are we going to lower inflation? How are we going to reduce the cost of food and housing? How are we going to close down that southern border? We've talked so little about that. We've talked a lot more about a sarcastic remark I made 3 years ago. I think we should talk about the issues that most Americans care about.
I only asked you one question about that. I asked you about policies, and I was asking about the military record that you brought up. Nobody else did, of Tim Walz.
Right. People have brought this up, and see, they're scared. They're literally not only in the tank, they're part of the aquarium process, because they realize, here on KIDO Talk Radio, they realize that if anybody gets a hold of her and asks her a question, she can't answer it. And Walz is a disaster, because in America, we still love the military. In America, it's tunnel to towers. In America, it's taking care of those that have taken care of us. And they put this fraud Walz up there, who now apparently bragged that he was at Bagram when he never went to Iraq, because he decided to run for Congress instead of becoming a command sergeant major. Coming up, more of J.D. Vance giving it to the media. Kevin Miller in the morning on your home for Hannity, weekdays at 1, right after Clay and Buck on KIDO Talk Radio.
KIDO. KIDO Talk Radio. Waking up on the right side. This is the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
And so they back away from the bio amid the stolen valor controversy, which is getting louder and louder. Minnesota National Guard Command Sergeant Paul Herr, who accused Walz of misleading voters about his military service in 2018. He was on Fox and Friends. He continually claims that he retired as Sergeant Major. He is not. He's a retired Master Sergeant. And then he recalled that Walz told other soldiers that he was going on deployment to Iraq, while at the same time having backroom conversations with other peoples, other entities inside the National Guard to make sure that he could retire. I mean, if that was his move, fine, but don't lie about it. Don't lie about your rank either. And that's what he did. He used the rank that he never achieved in order to advance his political career.
From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, it's the Sean Hannity Show.
War, inflation, and recession. Did you know that experts call gold the everything hedge? Gold goes far beyond hedging against inflation or the stock market. It can potentially even guard you against today's wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. Not to mention the great economic danger of a recession coming, which is what we're all worried about. And that's why gold just hit another record high. And central banks, they just keep buying gold at a record pace. It's Linda here. Join me and thousands of people who have called Goldco the #1 rated gold company. It's time you diversify your money with time-tested safe haven assets, physical gold and silver. Today, Goldco is offering our listeners up to 8 years in free IRA fees, plus up to 8% in bonus silver with a qualified account. Call 855-815-GOLD for free IRA fees, free bonus silver, and a free gold and silver info kit. What are you waiting for? Call 855-815-GOLD. That's 855-815-GOLD. Do it today. You can't wait.
You know, she always throws me off because you never know when you're going to get that echo. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436. Today is Monday, which means Larson will be joining us today at 8 o'clock. Our old friend Dennis Mansfield returns. That's right, Dennis returns. We're going to be speaking with him coming up about the paperback publication of his latest publication. And we'll talk to him a little bit about what's going on in Idaho and the country and how does he see Harris and Trump. By the way, I do appreciate Dennis joining us here as well. And like I said, the party's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. If you've ever watched anybody good, and maybe to quote our friend Tommy Ahlquist, Kevin, you've become nothing more, and he said it with good intentions, you've become nothing more than Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino. Get off my lawn. Hey, Tommy, doesn't mean that I'm wrong. But there was one of the best talk show guys ever, Tim Russert, God rest his soul, used to run Meet the Press. And Russert would come up with these techniques where, and it was new then, it was fascinating. It was like when Skip Bayless was fresh. So Russert would come up with these quotes that somebody said or videos that somebody said 2 or 3 years ago, and then he would pull the gotcha on him. And he always did it in a friendly way. And he was a nice guy from Buffalo, New York, and it was good. It was wholesome. No one has ever achieved what Russert did. Maybe even, you look at the grand pantheon of Sunday morning hosts, David Brinkley with George Will, Russert, and just being Russert. And now you've got Martha Raddatz, you've got Kirsten Welker, you've got the lady on CBS that sometimes wears a dress, sometimes doesn't, the folks on CNN and Fox. And then you have ABC with George Stephanopoulos, Martha Raddatz, and Jonathan Karl, who Jonathan is one of those guys. He's a talented guy, but he's not Tim Russert. And you can hear the condescension in his voice when he's speaking to J.D. Vance.
Open southern border because our border czar actually set a lot of open border policies. They suspended,
she's not actually, she wasn't the border czar.
Oh, that was what the media called her. She assumed the title. She had control over a lot of our border policy at a time when they were suspending. Let me finish, John. The time they were suspending deportations, they stopped Donald Trump's Remain in Mexico policy, and they reinstituted catch and release. They basically threw open the gates of our country, and now we have a ton of fentanyl, a ton of people suffering.
But how are you going to get 10 to 15 to 20 million people out of the country?
Well, the first thing you have to do is to stop the bleeding, stop the open border, get Kamala Harris out of there, and actually re-implement the Remain in Mexico policy, rebuild or finish Donald Trump's border wall, and you do that and you stop the bleeding. Now, you're right. Once you do that, once you stop Kamala Harris's open border policies, you've got to do something with the people who are already here. And I think that you take a sequential approach to it. You are going to have to deport some people. If you're not willing to deport a lot of people, you're not willing to have a border when there are 20 million illegal aliens in our country.
10 to 15 million people, this is like, I mean...
Well, John, I think it's the wrong attitude to take of it. Okay,
so there are doors and ask people for their papers.
Again, but I think this is the wrong attitude towards it, right? There's 20 million people here illegally.
What do you do? Jonathan, just turn in your junior Buckeye deputy reporter badge and just go sign up for Biden-Harris. They never do this to Nancy Pelosi. They never did this to Joe Biden. They never would do this to Kamala. They would never do it to Kamala. But they're doing it to J.D. Vance. Let's talk about it next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
A lot of violent criminals, and frankly, if you make it harder to hire illegal labor, which undercuts the wages of American workers, I think you go a lot of the way to solving the illegal immigration problem. But look, President Trump is absolutely right. You cannot have a border unless you're willing to deport some people. I think it's interesting that people focus on, well, how do you deport 18 million people? Let's start with 1 million. That's where Kamala Harris has failed, and then we can go from there.
And more coming up on that. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. That's J.D. Vance from the liberal ABC News this week. Let's go to William in Cuna about Kamala. Good morning, William.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. I have a couple actual question points that I think have been kind of left out, especially by a Trump campaign. And one of them was pretty important that, Kamala Harris was last week in her speeches saying, on day one, she's going, prices are too high, inflation is too bad. And on day one of, her quote unquote presidency, she's planning on working on the lower prices. So my question is on that particular topic that nobody seems to be capitalizing on is like, she's saying, well, if you elect me, then we'll start lowering prices. Can you use the converse of that? If you don't elect me, we're not going to try to lower prices. They can't lower prices to begin with, but, that campaign promise is just, what is that? Why isn't the Trump campaign capitalizing on that? And the other statement she made regarding, when she plagiarized Trump's campaign about the no tips for service workers.
Yeah.
Trump said, she has no imagination. She's just not creative. I don't, for the life of me, understand why he just doesn't say, she's plagiarizing our campaign. Just like Biden plagiarized things for his degree. I mean, they seem to be a little bit too nice to her.
Donald Trump's greatest strength is his biggest weakness. And, He'll call her names. He'll say, is she Indian? Is she black? The crowd size. He gets lost in the sauce and not the steak. But it's worked for him. Although now he's got a very different opponent. He's got someone who is 15, 16 years younger that has this Obama-esque quality, that has the media behind her. So I don't know. I think that he should be running where is the Trump we saw at the GOP convention? I think a lot of people would like to see that.
Yeah. One thing also, when you say political opponent, she's not his own political opponent. It's the whole Obama machine behind her now. I forgot the guy's name, but he was Obama's number one man running his campaign.
Pluff, David Pluff. David Pluff.
Yeah, he's now stepping in to run hers.
Yeah, Pluff, the Pluffster.
And Obama is going to be the keynote speaker at the DNC now.
He is. He wouldn't. William, anyway. I got to go, William. God bless. 9. And by the way, to those of you that are, on the zombie patrol, the night walkers, it's getting darker earlier, which is great. Of course, blah, blah, blah. A couple more weeks. We'll be getting dark around 9 o'clock. Congratulations to Liberal Steve, who just told us that he has been released from the hospital. So your prayers have worked. Doug in Mountain Home, I believe that he's out as well. So God bless you, Doug. Thank you very much for everybody that prayed for our 2 folks going under the knife. We appreciate them. And again, don't forget our free KIDO Talk Radio app. We're looking forward to signing up more people with the App Yap Club. And I believe we're ready to go. Joining us now is Ron Grant. Ron, good morning.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
All right, Ron, what's going on?
Hey, buddy, we got to keep that money 100% safe where you can't lose the principal, can't lose any gains that you've already earned. We want to make sure you understand there's a better way to keep it safe and also have a lifetime income. Kevin, the top 1% of our nation gets income from multiple sources. Why wouldn't you? And then I provide for my clients a lifetime of security through a lifetime of income that traditional retirement plans like 401ks and 403bs, et cetera, just don't offer. Right now, through August 26th, one of the top companies out there is offering a thank you bonus for moving your money over with them, and it's a 47% bonus. So every dollar you move over, 47% on that, and that's pretty powerful. The main thing is we want everybody to understand that with the volatile times, with the ups and the downs of the Wall Street casino, with what's happening in Washington, you want to try to keep your money 100% safe where you can't lose the principal and you can't lose the gains because you worked hard for it. That's your dignity money. That's the money that you worked hard for to take care of you and your family in retirement.
Ron, if people want to get a hold of you, what can they do?
Well, I've got a great educational website that I've put together. There's videos there that they can look at. There's articles there that they can read. There's a book that they can download, 10 Things to Know About Retirement Income. They can also email me from the site. That's safermoneyspecialist.com, or they can call me. Let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley. It's 208-660-1372. And we'll talk about that product that has the 47% bonus on it. That is powerful.
Well, Ron, thank you very much. If people want to get a hold of you, one more time, your website and your phone number.
SaferMoneySpecialist.com, and phone number is 208-660-1372.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, buddy.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
All right, back to our great friend Dennis Mansfield, who joins us now. Mr. Mansfield, how are you?
Kevin, I'm doing great. How are you, my friend?
Well, you've got a big announcement this week, and you said, hey, Kevin Miller, we'd like to share it with people before people in New York and Chicago and Los Angeles know about it. So congratulations on your big announcement. Thank you for sharing it with us, sir.
It's my honor. I couldn't think of any better way to start and any better person to do it with. Yeah, we just had the opportunity to see my Empires of Dirt, my 10th book, the second of my trilogy on space-time adventure and history, published by iUniverse. It launched this week with advanced copies being mailed out on Friday. They'll be hitting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for media all across the United States. And we're really looking forward to it. It's, I didn't expect to be an author, certainly not at this age. And after 10 books, the joy of examining history and asking the question, what if, in my first book, that really touched on the issue of what if people had changed or died. It was called To Trust in What We Cannot See. Was followed up by this new one, Empires of Dirt, which asked the question, what would have happened had Lincoln and Kennedy and King and Kennedy not been assassinated and gone on to live full lives? What would the nation be like today?
Yeah, I was thinking of you yesterday. How could, if you go back in time, how do you actually frame that as a writer and to be historically accurate?
It was kind of a aha that I had as I was working on some other projects. I have a number of books over the years that authors have signed, and ones that I collected as well that were signed. One, in fact, was Ulysses S. Grant's memoirs, a number of other books, and I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if somehow through the DNA on those books, where the author actually touched it and signed it, you'd be able to, through some force or power, or what I ended up settling on, my sort of DeLorean, was the issue of telluric currents that wrap around the world and have historically been amazing things that inventors and others tackled, but never really answered what are they, to be used as the force that guided, say, the time traveler through it. And so touching the DNA, being a part of that person for a momentary time period, and then immediately being transferred back to the point at which they wrote that signature. That was how I initiated it. And I began just putting the books together, looking at them, saying, what kind of a web would this be? And so the first book was just, I couldn't believe the success of it and the enjoyment of people, even asking the hard question, if you could either change or take out Hitler, Stalin, Lenin, Trotsky, Tito in 1913 at the same time, what would the 20th century have been like? And then, of course, what would the 21st century? And the reason I chose 1913 was because they all lived around each other. They were in Vienna, Austria, and they lived there right around Cafe Central, which is a beautiful, beautiful place I've visited in my research there in Vienna, that they actually had, coffee and hung out together, and the most nefarious people that are in the 20th century ended up playing chess against each other as poor, broke young men, ultimately playing global chess as middle-aged and older, tearing apart the fabric of our globe for World War II. So asking that question, and then dealing with going back to the men who were assassinated, and then what would have happened had Lincoln not died? What would have happened had things changed? And I think the recent July 13th attempt on President Trump's life was a huge what if. I mean, he was just, millimeters away from being shot through the head, and everything, including Biden and Kamala Harris and all the things that are now in motion would not have been in motion, because Biden would have been on his way through, and the great cover-up of his mental instability would have continued to occur, and Pelosi would not have had her way to get rid of him. And all those things that are a part of today's history would have, if that assassin would have been successful. So in all that is the overarching question of, if the players that we see in today's life and times switch, change, or are substituted, if those people move, is there an arc of history that continues on no matter who is in the presidency or who is in whatever position it is? And that's the journey that I take the readers on. And I got to tell you, Kev, it has been fun to see people grab hold of it. And Empires of Dirt has just, through ConvertKit, been really well received by people who wanted to see it online. And so that's how I advanced it a month or so ago, 2 months ago. And now to have the actual book being published and available on Amazon.com or Walmart or any of the other online large Barnes & Noble, et cetera, suppliers, big box places, or really any place that you might want to go online and get it. iUniverse is a great publishing company, and they have it online there as well.
Yeah. Boy, it sounds like we're interviewing a big star. He is a big star. Great friend Dennis Mansfield joining us here with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. I love how you drop the Nathan Barry ConvertKit, soon to be Kit. Now, I put this on. I haven't written an article about it, but I put it on my social media. Have you been to his offices in downtown Boise yet? Free for Kit members. And ConvertKit, again, a software program developed by Boise's own Nathan Barry. Dennis is a great friend. He knows him, known him for many, many years. But you have people now coming in all over the country to do podcasting at this facility. And Dennis, you as a member, you need to go there and do your podcasting, which are, again, I highly recommend. I listen to them all the time. You get those studios now for free.
Yes. In fact, part of the discussion that we're having right now with just around the corner with Dennis Mansfield, our podcast, which, Kevin, you were incredibly instrumental in helping me launch almost 5 years ago now. That particular podcast is by necessity going on a hiatus until the first quarter of 25, and it's for a simple reason. I have a medical procedure that's going to be happening in late November, on November 22nd, and that procedure is involving a heart operation, and so I have got to take a little bit of time off during the holidays in order to get healed and restored based on the open heart surgery that will be happening that particular day. So I haven't made any public announcement until today about that, but there's a reason why. I have really got to be able to let people know while I am healthy, happy, and energetic, to be able to, take interviews and do all those things. So, yeah, things are going to be changing in November for me, and I'm looking forward to it, actually.
Well, I have to tell you, Dennis, we will pray for you. And we've had Liberal Steve just went through a triple bypass. Doug, hang on. Doug just got out of surgery, so we're going to find out how he did. So you're going to be our lucky charm. We've had 3 people go. You'll be our third person going through this, sir.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate that. I was kind of stunned when I found out, actually. I mean, here I am working away on Empires of Dirt and getting it all finished up, and have the honor of having a tremendous cardiologist who had noted a number of years ago that I had a congenital problem in my heart that it's called a bicuspid valve problem. And so my entire life, all through West Point, all through all the things I've done, that apparently this heart was malformed. And, at that point, we said, well, what do we have to do? And it ended up being that they found there was an aortic aneurysm, which is, I don't want to give an organ recital here on the air. Trust me, it's the last thing I ever want to do. But I found it fascinating that here I am bustling around doing everything, and I got this tick-tock time bomb that they said needed to be fixed. So on the direction of Dr. Dave Sim, who I love and have cherished my 33 years of friendship with him, both as a friend and then as my cardiologist, I decided, let's go through it. They recommended that I go down to Cedars-Sinai, and I decided, no, home is Boise, and we've got some great heart surgeons, and I chose one who, when we met and talked, he'd done 2,000 of these types of valve replacements and aortic aneurysm sleeves. So I'm going to have pen and paper, I think, going into it, and then I'll be strapped down for a little bit. But after that, I'll probably interweave this somehow into my next book.
I can only imagine. Dennis, can you hang on for a minute?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, more with Dennis Mansfield. Doug, hang on too as well. We want to make sure that we hear from Doug, our great friend Dennis Mansfield, joining us. More coming up next. Empires of Dirt. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Dennis, again, we need to get you, and again, our maybe this week or next week, we need to get you in studio for an hour or two just to break down some things. But what did you learn about Lincoln?
Well, you know, one of the things that most people don't realize is that he had two secretaries, John Hay and John G. Nicolay. And in the process of bringing them from Illinois to the White House in 1861, these two young men, who later were called Lincoln's boys, saw everything that Lincoln did. They slept in the White House. They worked in the White House. They were there from the moment he came in to the moment he was assassinated. And they wrote a 10-volume set on Abraham Lincoln, which the research of which was going to be his autobiography, and he had agreed to have them write it. And it was called Abraham Lincoln, A History, volumes 1 through 10. And in the process of that, I was stunned at two things: the humanity of this man who came in saying, it came into the presidency saying, if it takes me destroying slavery to keep the Union, I'll do it. If it takes me allowing slavery to happen to save the Union, I'll do that as well. And the transition point from that to ultimately Emancipation Proclamation and all that he did, that even Stephen Douglas said he wasn't the best, but he was the best that they needed at that time. And so when I look at Lincoln now, I look at him through the eyes of that incredible thing, but I also look at him through the eyes of what Dave Leroy and I have talked about. In fact, Dave Leroy was very helpful to me, and I include him in as a historical footnote in Empires of Dirt, that the Ulysses S. Grant book that I have that has a signature on it found out that he died before they could actually get his signature on autographed copies. So they used a facsimile signature. And yet, it was fascinating to find out that Lincoln really did something cowardly in his presidency in 1864 when he had Hannibal Hamlin taken off of the convention floor by saying, let the convention decide who the vice president would be. And of course, Andrew Johnson was it. What I found in my research was most likely Lincoln never really said that. But in fact, John Hay, who was trying to manipulate one of the two secretaries, trying to manipulate so that Lincoln could get the South with him and bring in Andrew Johnson. Well, that was remarkable to me because if you think about it, Andrew Johnson only became president because Lincoln was shot 41 days after Hannibal Hamlin, the first vice president, was taken out, and Andrew Johnson, the second vice president, was brought in. And we had the most horrible post-war situation in America because of the absolute incredibly dirtbag that Andrew Johnson was, and where we could have had an extension of what Lincoln's goals, noble as they were, could have been with Hannibal Hamlin, who was his first vice president. And so those two polar opposites of being a glowing saint and being a scumbag politician gave me the resonance, as I wrote, to be able to say, this is a guy who sweated, farted, and burped. This is a man who had a crazy wife and kids that didn't like him, at least one son that didn't like him. And, of course, he lost Willie, his younger son. The man full of sadness and all that, and who bore the burden of the presidency even unto death. And so it brought humanity to Abraham Lincoln, and it took him off of the Lincoln Memorial, took him down from the pedestal for me.
Dennis Mansfield, one more time, how can we get the latest?
Empires of Dirt is my second of 3 books of the trilogy I'm writing. about time and space. If you like that, you'll love this. Amazon.com has it. Walmart.com has it. You can Google any of that. If you go to DennisMansfield.com, you can actually pick up the online ebook version through ConvertKit, soon to be Kit, that has it listed there. They're very inexpensive, but they are very rich in content. I hope the people that love history will read this and love the work of these years of research.
Dennis, it's been too long. Let's get you back soon, and you'll be in our prayers, and no worries about that heart procedure, brother.
Thank you, man. I really don't know what to think other than I'm going to go in with the same attitude I've had on my other research and say, wonder what this is all about. It's open heart surgery in November.
Yeah. God bless you, Dennis. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Love you, man. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Love you. All right. We're so glad that Doug waited. Doug, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for everything, all the prayers and everything everybody did, folks. I mean, nobody's going to tell me that God doesn't answer prayers. I mean, sometimes it's not the answer we want, but this time, for me, it was. Thank you, Kevin.
Well, how did you do? What happened?
No, I'm fine. They did an angiogram. I guess that's what they call. I don't know, Kevin. Mm-hmm. I'm not a doctor. Where they run up one of your arteries. They put 5 stents in me.
How did you do?
So, a little conglomeration of metal in it, but I'm breathing a whole lot better. I feel better. So I'm really glad they didn't have to open me up like they did Steve. Steve, I feel for you, and I hope and pray that you come through really well. It's not fun. My dad had 2 of them. So I'm glad I didn't have to get opened up. But anyway, I'm still here. And thank you, like I said, Kevin, for airing that over and people praying for me. I had people praying for me, family-wise, and all over. And it's really neat to see God have his hand on this stuff. So,
well, God bless you, Doug. Anything else?
Yeah, you know me. I don't have a TV much. I've been down at my son's, staying there while I'm recuperating. And so I've been watching some. But I heard some stuff about England. Have you been watching any of that thing that's going on over in England?
We've talked a little bit about it, but not much. I've been trying to not watch the Olympics.
Nah, yeah. Oh, you've been trying not to watch them?
Yeah, but apparently everybody in the world's watching them. NBC's had record ratings.
Good. Anyway, what I heard from a friend of mine that they just voted in a far left progressive parliament, right?
Yes.
Okay, I heard that the Muslims have taken over that place, and I don't know, this is just hearsay, so that's why I was asking you, but I was told he was watching it, on Newsmax and stuff, and they are burning London up. They're burning England up.
Well, I heard the white people are burning London up because they're tired of getting stabbed because they're white.
Well,
that's what I heard.
All I heard was what Steve said, and he said they've been putting the English people, the Muslims, because they've taken into the parliament, and they've been putting English people in prison for nearly nothing. Well, folks, I mean, that's why I wish it wasn't hearsay. I wish I knew. But, I mean, if they get this far-left progressive movement of what we're seeing in our country, folks, you don't think they ain't going to do that to me and you? Because I've been talking. I mean, they're keeping track of what we're saying. And we've been talking against them. I guarantee you the same type of freaking movement will happen. So, folks, you better stop and think about this. I mean, your freedom is only one generation away, and evil reigns when good people do nothing. So, people, if you're an American, you better stop and listen, and you better pray to God for the healing of this country and for a revelation of God coming into this country, because it's coming, Kevin. It's going to get ugly.
No, I agree with you. That's why, Doug, I enjoy my time together with us because, like I said, I think they're going to continue to try to erode talk radio, conservative talk radio. And, you know, you take a look at the state of the business today, you're going to have some national people, and they're going to get them eventually, too.
Yeah, it's just like the AM radio thing.
Yep.
I mean, it's just like the guns. That's what's going on in England, folks. It's going on in Australia and stuff. When they disarm you, that's why they're scared to death of the people in this country, is because we're armed, folks. And when you get disarmed, you have no way to fight back. None. I mean, and I don't want to fight, but you can't live under this, folks. All you have to do is look back into history and see everywhere where this has been, they kill you by the millions.
I don't want to be killed.
You can't live under it.
Yeah. No, you're right. Hey, Doug, you calm down and get some rest, all right?
Yep. I'm calmed down, Kevin.
Okay.
I'm really, it's in my spirit. God knows. He's pointing this to me. He's pointing this to a lot of people. You can't live under it. You got to have God in your heart and your spirit.
I know. I agree. I agree with you, sir.
Thank you again.
God bless. Yep.
Keep up the good work. God bless you.
All right. Thank you, Doug. Doug is on the mend. Kevin Rowe in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. They say stop freaking, call Beacon. High today of 96, low tonight 69, high tomorrow 89. Sounds good to me. Let's go to our great friend Dave Burnett, who's standing by with traffic. Good morning, Dave, on KIDO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Installation Studio, traffic on the freeway looking good east and westbound. No major problems. It does slow down in the typical spots for you this morning. Construction continuing downtown Boise on State Street from 16th all the way up to the Capitol Building. You'll find detours in place. At Mike Miniger's Auto Body, they'll restore your vehicle to pre-accident condition and guarantee their work. Call Mike Miniger's Auto Body. Visit BoiseAutobody.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
What is that, K. Millie?
Yes, K. Millie.
Well, I'm not making a wisecrack about it. I'm starting to like the nickname for you.
I know, but you laughed at it. And I tell you, I never really cared for this nickname. It was given to me by the late Fred Hansberger, one of the greatest talk show hosts in the country. And in Idaho, it stuck. So, yes, I've embraced my inner K. Millie.
Okay, I'll back off.
All right, buddy, you better.
I liked it, so. Anyway, I thought it would be a good diversionary tactic and maybe make you laugh. We got some serious stuff going on out there, Kev.
I would agree with you.
One being that they keep on almost provoking Iran again to start WW3 and start with the Jews. And I'm not sure why it's taken them so long, but they are doing some. I noticed that the Iranians were doing some exercises together, like they do prepare for war when they do that. You know that. And so that was kind of concerning. But when you're that close, precipice, cooler heads can prevail, but you don't see a lot of cooler heads in Iran. They only report the ones that are the mullahs, the guys with the donuts on top of their head. And they're so by the book, and that book goes back to, the 14th, 16th century. It's kind of outdated. And when they get blood in their eyes, they get blood in their eyes, and that's all they see, and that's all they want. And I think it's possible that we could get out of this somehow without a major skirmish. We certainly have a show of strength over there right now in the Gulf. That would, if they got the proper information, they'd know that they don't have a way out. What is
Kamala's What is Kamala's view on Iran?
I have no idea. I haven't even heard of even trying to do anything.
Yeah.
I think it'd be best for her to stay out of this fray, is what I would think. It's still Joe and don't. His big thing is don't.
Yeah.
Don't start something. Don't retaliate.
Well, then she's going on and on about, you have to, we need a ceasefire. We need this. And it's just these empty things that the sycophants that hate America in the media are soaking up.
Well, it's wishful thinking on their part when you think about it, Kevin. There's, you've got a country that was attacked unmercifully and unprovoked in the middle of the morning, basically, and they have blood in their eyes, but they also know that they're going to have to exist where they're at because that's their homeland. They've been waiting thousands of years to get it back, and they finally got it, and they allowed somebody in there that provoked them into a war. They didn't start it. They didn't provoke them to get it going.
Right, they didn't start the fire.
You got to let them do what they want to do in order to make sure they get their people back, their hostages. Well, I'm here to tell you that I don't think Hamas cares much about the hostages. It's just a talking point for Hamas to get some more things out of them. That's why they took them in the first place. And I think that they split them in half. I think they took half to Gaza, and I think they took the other half to Hezbollah
Yep. That's enough out of you, Poochie. Who's that?
Somebody's at the door. Hello?
Caller?
Okay, thank you.
Caller?
My landlord. I moved into a new place, and I asked him to check in on me, make sure I don't miss work this morning. Anyway, to get back to what I was talking about, half the hostages, I believe, are in Hezbollah territory. They split them up.
Now, wait a minute. You just said somebody checked on you in the morning?
It was my landlord. I just moved into a place, and I couldn't find my alarm.
No, do they like you, though, at this new place?
I don't want to be late for work.
No, I'm with you.
So I had him come over and check on me.
Well, we're a little concerned because usually you call in the early hours, so I'm glad you're going to make it to work today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Are you, do you like your new place?
Yeah, I like the area. The neighbors are extremely quiet. It's right across the street from a huge cemetery, so it's going to work out good.
What about who's the little Poochie you have there?
Well, he's got 4 names. Oscar Weiner is one. Oscar Madison is another. Oscar Bin Laden is the other because you never know who's going to show up. And then the last one is Bob Barker. Once he gets started, he doesn't stop.
I see.
Yeah. He's a good little dog, but he's a Chihuahua and he's a menacer, and he gets started on something. He's kind of like the Iranians. They don't want to quit. So back to that, I think there's hope, and if we do lose hope, then we're in big trouble. I enjoy your shows each and every day. I did have one question, and I don't want a personal answer between you and your wife, but do you just kind of leave this at the office on Friday, and you don't pick it back up until Sunday early in the morning, or Monday early in the morning?
I will say this. She watches Fox News more than I do. And right. I'm more of I'll watch what the libs are doing or I'll read. But then, she's primarily watches the Fox. I will, as you know, I watch every Sunday show and all that stuff. So I'm always online reading stuff.
Right.
Where, it was so funny because when Tucker was on, every night it was Tucker. I go, man, Tucker, give me a break. But, I think that hopefully that explains it.
That's enough. I'm curious because, you have to have a personal private life too as well. And you're married, so that makes it special that you're able to have one with your wife, and you can kind of leave what you need to leave, and then you study up what you need to study up for Monday morning. Right?
Well, yeah, I always like to try to explain to her, this is my job. She goes, what, watching TV? I go, yeah. And God bless her. She really, she had me out helping her with the weeds on Sunday morning, which, again, was a thrill of my lifetime.
I pity the fool.
Oh, I know. And on that one, you and the Chihuahua, Bob Barker, have a great day, Brother Paulie.
Yeah, I'm going to work.
All right.
I got to get over there.
All right. Take care, sir.
Over to the airport.
All right.
You have a great day, too, and your listeners, too. God bless us.
God bless. Bye. Yes. Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO.
Question of when he left the National Guard. He filed his election paperwork February 10th, 2005. That was a month before the National Guard even announced that it was possible that they would deploy to Iraq, and it ended up being 2 months. He retired 2 months before they actually got the paperwork.
But on CNN last night, Dana, one of the people who was actually in charge of him said they knew they were going to deploy to Iraq in February of 2004, fall of 2004. So he knew he was going to Iraq. He decided to quit, to retire, whatever word you want to use.
Retire.
Because he wanted to run for Congress. He lied about that. He said that when he decided to retire, he did not know that he was going to Iraq. That is another untruth, as even his senior military officer said.
Right. They're protecting this guy, Walls. We'll talk about it next. Would love to hear from you. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller on Idaho's talk station.
KIDO.
580-5436. 580-KIDO. Don't forget the free KIDO Talk Radio app. Also, you'll probably know this if you listen to this program, why anyone who likes Yellowstone should be going to Caldwell this week. Big event going on in Caldwell, Idaho. Coming up, also, the liberals are mad. They say that anytime you're talking about somebody's military service, you're hurting all veterans. We'll talk more about that. But we live to serve. Let's go to Morpheus in Boise with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Morpheus.
Good morning, Kevin. I just wanted to talk about reparations for all these illegals that are coming across the border, and they're found not to be true asylum. Their asylum claims are proven false. And so I guess the next question is, where does the money come from for reparations? And I believe that should come from the countries of origin. Venezuela is rich in oil. A lot of these countries like China and some of these other places hold our U.S. debt and bonds. And, I don't think it's hard to get a lot of that money back for having footed the bill for these people's education, food, places to live. What do you say?
Well, I think it would be nice, number one, but number two, I think everybody talks a great game, but Morpheus, we should have all these people leave the country. And I don't know if you have to have the liberals, pay for 50% of these people coming in, but look, we're going broke, and the idea that we're clothing and putting people that are here illegally and not doing anything for our veterans or our people that have paid into the system. And I don't know if Dr. Phil can save us or what, but there's a lot of people that hate America that are in power, in the media, in government. They hate America.
For sure, they hate America. I'm just talking dollars and cents here. There's certainly some NGOs that have gotten a lot of money, and there's lobbies for big corporations who've wanted these people. Sure. And I think that it wouldn't be hard for accountants, certainly the IRS is good at this, figuring out, where to bill these people for this reparations for the people's money here in America.
Sure, but then you would have the 40 or 50% of the people that would disagree with it. And then who's going to pay? The Chinese are going to tell us to kiss off.
I don't know about that. It's just a matter of writing a piece of paper from the executive, and if we have control of the executive and control of Congress, and certainly there is a number there and a lot of money that's been spent that I don't think the American people agree with. And then we had all that money, of course, that we were paying the Taliban for terrorism. There's a large amount of money that has been illegally spent. And certainly this money has been put towards illegal means, too. And certainly the DNC and the RNC, parts of the RNC by percentage have contributed to this enticement, the building of camps in South America. All this money that's been put out of the tax dollars, I really don't think that, the majority of Americans agree with.
Well, those that are cognizant, the rest are in the matrix.
Correct. But we're here to wake them up.
You're right. We are. Morpheus,
thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you for the call. If we just went by common sense, we'd send the bill to China and to Mexico and to all the countries in South America that are broke. That's why they're sending their people here. KIDO Talk Radio Traffic. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Insulation Studio. Looking good on the freeway as you travel eastbound right now. It does bunch up just a bit in the typical places in the Meridian Road area. That construction project continues on the Highway 16 bypass as you work through that area, both at Chinden and on up. So just be aware you will be delayed there just a bit. The Boise State Broncos train hard every day, and so does the team at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, and it shows. Get an expert oil change in about 15 minutes. Drive in today, no appointments needed. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Appreciate that, Dave. High today of 96, low tonight 69, high tomorrow 87. Kevin Miller, Talk Radio app. Out to our great friend Lars Larson. He's a shy young man. You'll catch him today at 4 on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How do you like this? Kamala Harris won't talk to reporters so they can ask her whether she still stands for all the crazy stuff that she has said over the years. And there are lots of crazy positions she's taken. And I think the reason she's dodging reporters is she would be asked, are you still for Medicare for all? That's a crazy idea. Are you still for a ban on fracking, which produces the vast majority of the oil and the natural gas that America enjoys right now and could enjoy into the future? And they could also say, so which one is it? You've just come out and copied Donald Trump's proposal to end all income taxation on tip income. So mostly waitresses, other people in service jobs. And Trump said, let's just not tax it at all. And she comes out in favor of it this weekend, except that the Biden-Harris administration has, through the IRS, been cracking down on unreported tips. So which one is it she's in favor of?
Well, whatever gets her elected. And
that's a good rule for a Democrat.
Yeah, it is very, unfortunately, very strange. This is reminiscent of Barack Obama, but at least you can say that, Lars, you and I have been rolling for quite some time. Back in 2008, Obama earned it. This is just a coronation.
Well, and Obama's own, you're right. Let's go to that, whether or not she earned it. She didn't earn it. And in fact, I'm amazed that more Democrats are not apoplectic about the fact that for the last couple of election cycles, they haven't chosen their presidential candidate. They didn't choose Joe. That was engineered. They didn't choose Hillary. That was engineered, and I can explain what I mean by that. The party decides who you're going to have as a candidate. Now, for all of the chaos of Republican primaries where you have 16, 17 people running for the presidential nomination, at least there's a race. At least Americans get a choice. With Democrats, you don't get a choice. There were people who chose Joe Biden. I think it was a dumb choice, but they chose him anyway. And then a cabal of his fellow Democrats go to him at home and say, you're going to get out of the race or we're going to drag you out of the Oval Office using the 25th Amendment to the Constitution. And he acquiesces. This weekend he did an interview about that, and he admitted it was a bunch of his own party members who came to him, forced him out. And then they said, having forced him out, we could have had an open convention. They haven't even had their convention yet. And we can let the delegates who represent the people back home choose who they want to run. Now, they might well have chosen Kamala Harris anyway. She seems to be, and when I say the best choice they've got, I mean that in relative terms, better than all of the others. A bad choice is the best choice of many. But so what? The people did not choose. Now, in any political and it's caused a lot of Americans to have to learn what you and I already know about, and that is, what is the process for choosing a presidential candidate? You choose delegates, they go to a convention, and in theory, the delegates representing the people back home can say, we choose somebody else. Now, the Democrat Party was not going to let that happen.
Well, speaking of the Democratic Party, and we'll get back to Harris versus Trump, how do you see the Senate?
And I don't call them the Democrat-ic Party unless they believe or behave in a Democrat-ic way. And not letting the people vote on their potential candidate is not very Democrat-ic.
Well, yeah, you can vote for the squad member here, the squad member there, or Crazy Bernie. Let me hit you with this one, Lars. What do you make of the race for the Senate right now? The guy that's it seems to be in trouble is our old boy Jon Tester, who, again, has defied the odds. President Trump tried to get him 6 years ago and hasn't. Now he seems to be in the race for his life.
Well, sure. And do you notice who he's avoiding? Most people running for an office other than president would like to cozy up to the president of their own party or the candidate of their own party because it's a political benefit. You'd think he'd want Kamala Harris to come to Montana and campaign for him. He has apparently stayed as far away from her as he possibly can. Now, what does that explain? It explains that he knows that Montanans are likely to deselect him as the U.S. Senator, and he knows that any connection to Kamala Harris is not a good one for the Tester campaign. It's a bad one.
Well, what do you make of Montana? I mean, that is in your jurisdiction.
Well, here's the thing. I've lived in Montana twice as a kid. Once when my dad was going to the University of Montana getting his forestry degree, before Missoula became a woke left-wing community. It's a university community, and a lot of them are, they're way to the left. The cities in Montana tend to be more liberal. The rural areas of the state are just at the mercy of the cities, which is to some extent true in the Northwest, maybe not so much in Idaho, but the whole state of Washington is subject to the liberalism of the Seattle and Puget Sound metro. Portland the same way. The rest of the state is mostly conservative, and the big cities are screaming left-wing liberals. And the same thing is true to some extent. Montana has become a bit more of a liberal state because of the influence of the big cities and the universities. Don't discount the influence of the universities and what they have on the politics of a town.
Well, and we see that here in Boise State. But Tester, I keep going back to Tester. His nephew's a friend of mine who lives here locally, but here's a guy that they love him. He's a farmer. He's kind of those old blue dog Democrats, and yet you're right. Does Harris hurt Tester, and does Harris hurt the guy in Ohio, Sherrod Brown?
Harris hurts Tester. I mean, she does, and this is why. And to some extent, I guess people have to put their ego aside a little bit, because when you're the presidential candidate like Kamala Harris, and the man running for U.S. Senate who's a member of your own party in the state of Montana says, hey, thanks for your support, but don't come anywhere near my state. I don't need you here. What does that tell you?
Yeah, you're right about that. And yet you have this guy, Walz. Last time we talked, it was all about Shapiro out, Walz in. What do you make of this guy?
They didn't choose him because he's Jewish. And that's an ugly truth. But for all the Democrats screaming and yelling, accusing Donald Trump of being anti-Semitic, I mean, that was like a joke when it came out. I'll get back to Shapiro. So the Democrats scream and yell, he doesn't like the Jewish people. And then what do? Donald Trump is a man with a Jewish daughter. She converted to Judaism. She's married to a Jewish man. He has Jewish grandkids. And yet he's been the best friend to Israel among modern presidents going back. I'm maybe back in all of modern history. I don't think there's been a better friend to Israel and to Jewish people than Donald Trump. But Republicans have always been big supporters of Israel and Jewish people. And now you've got Kamala Harris, the party of anti-Semitism, the party that supports the crazy people on college campuses arguing in favor of Hamas, in favor of terrorism, in favor of Iran, in favor of crazy groups here, and then they want to call the Republicans anti-Semitic. They didn't choose. Shapiro on paper was among Democrats. I'm not a Democrat, but was a good choice as a running mate. Why? He comes from a key battleground state, the Keystone State. He's young, he's vigorous, he's got, all the left-wing politics. He doesn't seem to have too many scandals. The only scandal I could point out is, and it's not really a scandal, is that he supported school choice and said, I will support school choice in office, and it was a lie, because once he got into office, he opposed school choice because that's what the teachers' unions demanded. And if you're a Democrat, you do what the teachers' unions tell you to do. Try to get any Democrat to take a position that's antithetical to what the teachers' unions want. So he gets into office, but other than that, Shapiro's pretty clean, and they don't choose him. Even though he comes from a state they need. They instead choose Tim Walz, and I'm not convinced that this stolen valor issue is not going to remove him from the ticket. Now, that would be a radical move for them to dump a vice presidential pick. What are we, 90 days now away from the election, and or thereabouts? So it would be a crazy move, but can he survive this? Because this is a man, and I know the major media, including the Washington Post, is trying to make this one go away. And they can't explain it away, Kevin, because here are some things we know for sure. Did he serve in the National Guard for 24 years? Absolutely, and he deserves credit for his service to America. If anybody puts on the uniform and agrees to serve this country in uniform, I will honor them for that. But then it stops there, because what did he do? He decided he wanted to be a command sergeant major, and they put him in the academy, and he signed a commitment to do the things required to become a command sergeant major. Now, if he had become ill, if he had had some major catastrophe, I could see him withdrawing. He didn't. And he apparently didn't mind being deployed to Europe. He was deployed to Italy, which doesn't sound like a bad assignment all in all, and he went. And then when he came home, he had already indicated he was going to run for Congress. Okay, fine. But then the Pentagon said, we need you to deploy to Iraq. And he almost immediately quit the National Guard. Now, when did he quit, Kevin? He had been in the National Guard for 20 years. He'd done his 20, he'd retired out. When 9/11 happened, on 9/18, 2001. So on the 18th of September, a week after 9/11, he went back and said, I'm re-enlisting in the National Guard. Good for him. What did he re-enlist for? Well, the record shows 6 years. That would mean he'd be in the National Guard till 2007. When did he quit? In the middle of 2005. And two things were going on at the time. One, he wanted to run for Congress. Two, he was about to be deployed to a war zone for the first time in his career. First time. And he has since then talked about having PTSD from being, in a war zone. He was not. He says he was a command sergeant major. His official biography on the Minnesota governor's website says he is a retired command sergeant major. That's a lie. Now, Kevin, over the years, we've covered on my show stolen valor a lot. I mean, we've talked to the advocacy group. There are groups out there, mostly vets, who say, if you go out and pretend to be something you're not, we will come after you. It is a federal crime to impersonate somebody who is in the military or has been. So if you, Kevin, were to put on a uniform and go down and say, yeah, Kevin Miller, I've served in the Marines or served in the Army, that's a crime, number one. And number two, it's disgusting behavior, because what you're trying to do is enhance your own image. And in many cases, people do it, for the most pedestrian of reasons, like selling insurance. There was an insurance salesman a number of years ago we covered who went out and told people he was a U.S. military veteran. It helps sell more insurance policies, mostly to veterans. That's fraud. And so stolen valor groups go after that. This guy claims to be a retired command sergeant major. He's not. He claims that he was deployed to a war zone. He was not. And then he tells the public, I'm quitting, but he doesn't have a good reason other than that he wants to run for Congress. He leaves his unit, the 125th Artillery, with no senior non-commissioned officer. And another person had to volunteer, who was not going to be deployed, volunteered to be the replacement senior NCO to go with the 125th, and they were deployed for 17 months. And when you get that kind of deployment, do you think that would get in the way of running for Congress? It would. Is quitting the military during a commitment you made voluntarily to run for political office, is that legit? It's not. Now, the Washington Post and Glenn Kessler, who's just not an honest person at all, he'll fact-check the daylights out of Donald Trump, but when it comes to Tim Walz, he tries to explain away why Walz quit. And his fellow service members, including the chaplain for the 125th, are very angry at him about this.
Well, and it's funny because the media doesn't really know what to do or how to handle it.
How about this? Just tell us the facts. Did he commit to military service? Yes. Did he quit early? Yes. Did he quit after a deployment? No. He went to the deployment in Italy. Good gig. Came back, then was about to be deployed to Iraq, and he said, I'm not going to Iraq. And has he since then lied and said he was a retired command sergeant major? He retired as a staff sergeant. And Kevin, I haven't been in the military, you haven't been in the military, but for those people who I've talked to for decades, if you're in the military and you claim you were a sergeant and you were really a lance corporal, they don't like that. And they don't like it for a reason. It takes a lot to rise in the ranks, and if you claim a rank you are not entitled to, even the military takes it seriously. They'll go after you. And I'll remind you, a number of years ago, there was an admiral who was serving at the Pentagon, had served with distinction, had a chest full of ribbons, but one of them was the Vietnam campaign ribbon. And it had in the middle of it what's called a V device. It's a little metal V. And what it means is you served under gunfire. And there's a difference, because you could serve in the military during Vietnam and never go anywhere near Southeast Asia. And you could also serve during Vietnam and having gone to Asia. So there's a gigantic difference. This guy wore the V for Valor device on his ribbons. When he was outed, you know what he did, Kevin? I don't agree with his choice, but he went home and he put a bullet in his head. Killed himself.
Yeah.
He was so ashamed. Now, am I saying he should have killed himself? No, of course not. But what I'm saying is he knew that he was going to be shamed for having done this, for claiming something that he did not do. Tim Walz is doing that right now. And that's before you get to Tampon Tim, Tampons in the Boys' Room, which ought to be a song, and all this. Because and Walz isn't doing a lot of interviews either, because you can imagine people saying, you took over a state with a $14 billion surplus, and now it's in deficit. You took over a state that had pretty decent education, and that now ranks very low in America. You insisted on signing a bill to put tampons in the boys' restrooms of elementary schools. For what purpose? Because he was meeting the political expectations of the far left in America that says even little boys can menstruate, which is a statement so stupid. You know, if you're ever around a bunch of your liberal friends, say, hey, what do you think? Can little boys menstruate? And all the women in the room, even if they're Democrats, are going to look at you and say, what are you, crazy? Women menstruate. And you say, no. The position of the party is that boys and men can menstruate and get pregnant. And see if that doesn't get a conversation started at your next barbecue if you invite any Democrats.
Lars Larson joining us. Kevin Mill in the Morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Lars, great points. Let me get you out on this one. What should we be looking out for this week as we get ready to commemorate the greatest event known to man since 2008, the DNC convention starting next week?
Yeah, well, that's going to be interesting because Kamala Harris went 18 days without talking to reporters at all. Now, Friday, she broke that streak by talking to a couple of reporters for literally a couple of minutes. Prior to that, she'd gone 18 days. She's a candidate for office. One of the most dangerous places in the world to be should be between any candidate and a camera or a microphone. But she's been avoiding them like the plague. It'll be interesting to see whether or not she changes that this week and actually steps up and takes some questions. Because people are going to ask her, do you still stick to these, positions on issues? Because, Kevin, one of the truths of politics is that personnel is policy. If you choose Kamala Harris, you get one set of policies, and people know that. If you choose Donald Trump, you get a very different and much better set of policies. So when you choose personnel, you are choosing policies. It applies to governor's races as well. You choose a crazy liberal to replace Brad Little, you're going to get a different set of policies, and you may not like it. So is she going to answer questions about where she stands? And it'd be interesting to see the first person to ask her, so what made you want to copy Donald Trump's proposal on not tipping tip income? And see how she replies. She did it a month after Trump did it. And, and then the next follow-up question would be, how many of Trump's other policies are you going to adopt? Are you going to adopt his policies on the border? Because they work very well. Your policies, as borders are, didn't work very well at all. Is that the direction you're going? Because nobody knows where she's going, and she doesn't want to answer those questions. So my biggest question going into this week is Kamala going to talk? I don't mean on a stage where she can't be asked questions. I mean, is she going to answer some questions about what kind of president she proposes to be? Because at this point, nobody knows. And Tim Walz, how do you explain your stolen valor? You claimed a rank you didn't earn. You deserted your own troops as they were being deployed for 17 months to Iraq.
Lars Larson, we appreciate it. Always appreciate you, brother.
Kevin, it's always the best. Take care and God bless.
God bless our great friend Lars Larson. Catch him today at 4, only on KIDO Talk Radio. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Do appreciate Lars Larson. Let's go back to the app yappers. We have a lot of people that are getting a reaction. Let's see. Lars is lying through his teeth about Walz, A. Bundy in America. God bless you guys. Thanks for all you do. This was a great week of shows. It's great to have you back at the Gem State Golden Microphone. A true blessing. Prayers for the fire victims in their community. Much love. Enjoy the weekend, y'all. That was Denver from last week. And then we have the Elite Clicker saying crusade, and he's armed, and he is an infidel. Well, we appreciate that. Also, our friend Marine Bob, Kevin, stolen valor is a big deal. I wear a Vietnam veteran baseball cap wherever I go. Since I look a lot younger than my 74 years, some people look at me and like I'm really not a Vietnam veteran. That's why I always carry proof of my service in my wallet if it comes to me having to prove it. Yes, Marine Bob, thank you for your service. We appreciate that. And, I don't know why people would be posers. And, we saw this a lot when people were deployed in Iraq, that they would basically say that they had served. I mean, can you talk about something, a bigger form of disgracing yourself and your family, saying that you served or you served in special operations or some type of elite unit or you were deployed when you weren't? Speaking of the military record, CNN now is coming to the defense of Tim Walz and saying anytime you question anybody's military record, well, you're just plain bad.
Informed observers connected to politics or the military, myself included, have noted that the Trump campaign is swift-boating Tim Walz. Attacks on J.D. Vance's service are also offensive. J.D. Vance served honorably in Iraq, a combat zone where anything can happen and frequently does. As he said in his book, he was, quote, lucky to escape any real fighting. That doesn't make his service less than. Lucky, he says. And luck is often what makes the difference in a combat zone or even a training mission. That today is not your day. In a country where so few shoulder the burden, military service should not be a liability. It should be an asset. And despite our recent years as a country at war, many service members haven't seen combat. That doesn't make them or their service less admirable or less necessary, nor does retiring from the National Guard after 24 years. These kinds of attacks from the left or the right diminish the service of so many others who have served honorably, who sacrificed time away from family, who put themselves in harm's way, because the military is made largely of J.D. Vance's and Tim Walz's. There are two veterans.
Not really. The military is made up of people that serve, the people that are thankful to come home. It's about sacrifice. And I don't think that people would have, I wouldn't have a problem with Tim Walz if he said, look, I decided to put myself and my own self-interest against the folks that I had served with. Now, if you are in the National Guard or, let's see, the Army Reserve. The Army Reserve doesn't get a lot of attention. I was an Army Reservist. But the National Guard, you hang out with those people. You see them get married. You see their kids and their grandkids, and then you retire. If Tim Walz didn't want to go to Iraq, then he shouldn't have lied about it. There is no equal here. And Breonna Keller gets a run because her husband served. So she believes that this gives her a special entitlement, a special way to see things. Thank you for his service. Thank you for your sacrifice, Breonna. But that doesn't mean that you can waltz over and lie about Tim Walz. Tim Walz said we should kiss up to China. Tim Walz talked about carrying weapons of war. Tim Walz, and this is not getting swift-boated. It's the truth. And by the way, I was the first interview of Dr. Corsi during Swift Boat Veterans for Truth. That's why Dr. Corsi and I have been friends for years. That wasn't made up about John Kerry. That wasn't made up. It was the truth. But the media, the enemy, is so hell-bent on lying to us. Kamala doesn't need interviews. Kamala can say that she wasn't the border czar. Kamala can lie to us. And because the media hates conservatism, the same type of conservatism that gives them the freedom to attack us, they're going to go along with this lie. Imagine if the situation had been reversed and put in Tim Walz's military record with Donald Trump. The media should be fair. Shame on them. And shame on for Mr. Walz for lying. Mr. Walz, you did serve. There's no need to lie. We have enough liars in politics. It really makes me miss good old Joe. He hasn't left yet. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. They say stop freaking, call Beacon. Beacon Plumbing for all your plumbing needs. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. KIDO Talk Radio Traffic now. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the G&G Installation Studio. Traffic on 84 east and westbound looking good. No problems there. If you're traveling up over the Blues into Oregon, 84 is looking good. Even in the fire zones, you are open and clear to go there. Mike Miniger's Auto Body, locally owned and operated, serving your collision needs from minor dings to major accidents since 1982. Mike Miniger's Auto Body. Visit BoiseAutobody.com. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Man. You know, me just like living a normal life with my kids and my wife, but this is what they do, I think, is they latch onto a message and they try to sell it even if it's fake. And I think, you know, again, to go back to something Trump said, we were talking about Trump earlier, is Trump's superpower in politics is he just doesn't give a shit, right? He doesn't care what they say about him. He's going to be himself. He's going to tell jokes. He's going to say things that drive some people off a wall, but then we actually listen to what he said. He's like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think that if you're going to be in politics in the social media age, you've got to kind of have a thick skin and just do what you need to do.
And there we have it. J.D. Vance, certainly not on broadcast network. Those of you on the stream got a little uh-oh. Greg for uh-oh. Those of you on the air, he was saying the S word. But, let's break this down. Donald Trump doesn't care. But what we're seeing here is something we haven't seen since Barack Obama. The media did not like Hillary Clinton. The media did not like Joe Biden. The media certainly hates Donald Trump. But right now, let's just go over things. We have an assassination attempt. We have an incredible Republican convention. We have Donald Trump winning. Now, let's go over this. And let me just take off these headphones for a minute. You're welcome to join me at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, because we live in such a world, we never have a perspective. So let's just digest what has happened in the past few years. Donald Trump was written off after January 6th. Donald Trump has been prosecuted more than Bill Clinton, than Lyndon Baines Johnson, than anyone. Because Donald Trump had money, the prosecutions, as unfair as they've been, haven't ruined him. The media coverage against Donald Trump, a tsunami, several tsunamis, earthquakes, Fukushima, whatever you want to call it. has not leveled Donald Trump. People like Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and the Bushes and the Romneys and everybody else colluding against Donald Trump, campaigning against him, and he still wins. Donald Trump, famous or flawed, you pick, so powerful that he, despite all the winds against him, the wind against him, this guy forced Joe Biden to wet himself figuratively, maybe literally, and be the victim of a bloodless coup. You're out, Joe. Go back to the basement. Back to the basement, Joseph. Joey. Goodbye, Joey. Joey got the boot. Now we have the media with Kamala, who all of a sudden, Kamala is great, bright, articulate. Remember, this is a woman who didn't even make it to Iowa, who has been a bumbling, stumbling, rumbling fool. But the media protecting her and the next Mr. Doofus, Walz, blatantly lying. The economy, and I'm going to say this, sucks. I hate that word. The economy sucks. We have been screwed by these people for 4 years. You have to be a complete moron to vote for these people. Now Trump's plane had problems in Montana. So not an assassination attempt, not the lawfare, not everything else has taken down Donald Trump. And I wrote about this years ago. I equated him to the wrestler Stone Cold Steve Austin. Donald Trump just doesn't care. But the problem now is you have the media and you have people that, let's just get along. Let's embrace moral relativism. Look, Sam, if you want to be Samantha, great. I don't want you to call me toxic. Look, Timmy, if your little boy, Willie, wants to wear feminine devices in 4th grade, let's just let it happen. But let's call the guy who served with honor and distinction and a Marine, J.D. Vance, weird for holding people accountable. It is a strange world that we're living in. Now, thankfully, we don't live in Massachusetts or Los Angeles or any of those other liberal cesspools. Our liberal cesspool is run by
Joe Biden.
And look, Joe Biden's out. She's all about Harris. She's all about Buttigieg. And one day, I would hope, and I have to be careful how I say this, that there will be a conservative reckoning for the city of Boise. That somehow the conservatives will go into Boise. Boise is the liberal enclave that wants to be Portland. You take a look, and by the way, I want to thank the gentleman that called last week. Just the ridiculousness with the garbage trucks in Cuna and other places where we're replacing them with electronic vehicles that weigh more, that are inefficient. And, of course, we have the glowing liberals that are housed in this building. The Idaho Statesman saying it's a great thing. No, it isn't. The batteries are more toxic than the gasoline-powered engines that made America great. But now we're supposed to embrace Kamala and say that Kamala is the best ever. Never mind that we take a look at her abysmal record. Let's not even talk about the border. Let's not even talk about the social issues. Let's not even talk about all these other things. Let's go after J.D. Vance. When J.D. Vance was asked about it, and by the way, we're going to prove this. We have coordination between ABC, NBC, and CBS. They all asked them the same questions. And I was watching this. I'm going, this just seems like the same question. Do we have this ready, Sweet William? You're not going to hear this anywhere locally. But nationally, people might bring this up. But here you have John Carl from liberal ABC talking about the racist attacks against his wife. Let's take a listen.
So there's been a lot of talk about racism and whatnot. You faced some really nasty stuff. I saw this thing that Nick Fuentes, of course, he's an avowed white supremacist. He said, what kind of a man marries somebody named Usha? Clearly he doesn't value his racial identity, his heritage. I mean, this is racist garbage.
Yes, it is.
But this is also a guy that dined with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago during this campaign.
Well, that Donald Trump doesn't know anything about and frankly doesn't care for. But yeah, look, my attitude to these people attacking my wife is she's beautiful, she's smart. What kind of man marries Usha? A very smart man and a very lucky man, importantly. And my view is, look, if these guys want to attack me or attack my views, my policy, my personality, come after me, but don't attack my wife. She's out of your league.
But, I mean, that dinner that Trump...
Okay, there we have it. So he's going to list it to Trump. Let's go to CBS.
Well, in your own movement, that's what I want to ask about, because one of the supremacists who was saying things like this about your family...
Yeah.
Nick Fuentes, an avowed anti-Semite, went after your wife. He had previously dined at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump. Does this have any room in your movement, in the MAGA movement?
Of course it doesn't have any room in the MAGA movement, and of course...
You disavow him and this.
And of course Donald Trump has criticized this person. Look, I think the guy's a total loser. Certainly I disavow him, but if you ask me what I care more about, is it a person attacking me personally, or is it government policy that discriminates based on race? That's what I really worry about.
Like I said, one more time, we have Jonathan Karl. It's as if these guys all got together and figured this out to ask the same questions. ABC News, CBS, Face the Nation, all these things. And you're going, is this the most important thing? Of course, racism is horrible. So is paying $3 for a stalk of celery. So is paying $7 for a container of small tomatoes. Yeah, that's what's driving this. So the media is trying to seek a wedge by talking about Nick Fuentes, who, remember, Janice McGeehan got in trouble, I believe, for getting a picture with him when she was running for governor. The bottom line here at 580-5436 is they are lying to us. And we have cackling Kamala seeming that she's the best ever. Well, I don't agree with that. More coming up next. We'd love to hear from you. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
2004. We know the same man is behind it, who's running the Trump campaign now, Chris LaCivita. Why run with these attacks when there's no evidence for what they're saying right now?
Well, I do think there's some evidence for what they're saying, but let's look at it in two parts. One is the issue on the merits, where I think there's no question Tim Walz has padded and inflated his resume. And the second is his military resume.
In what way specifically?
Well, J.D. Vance mentioned the timing of his retirement is suspect, and I think it would take a little bit longer to talk about the timeline of that. But
he's alleging that he retired because he was being deployed.
Right. He knew that they were going to be called up. He had gotten a warning that they were going to be called up, and he said in a press release for his campaign, if called up, I have a duty to serve. He didn't do that. It's clear he's inflated this, and he's made it a part of his biography. And by the way, this has been an issue in every single one of Walz's campaigns. But separately, I think that there's a question of how significant is this going to be down the road? You mentioned the swift boat veterans. Those attacks were effective, but they were levied against the presidential nominee of the Democratic Party, John Kerry, back in 2004.
They were also discredited.
Which is different. And so this race is not going to be won or lost based on attacks made on either J.D. Vance or...
Yeah, but they're not really attacks. Good morning, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. They're not attacks. It's true. Walz knew he was going to be deployed, and you have to make a decision. You know, whether Walz signed up at 17 or 18 or 19 or 25, everybody who serves in the military, everybody who served in public office, you get it. It's a very humbling procedure you go through, or whatever you want to call it, where you're in a room and you swear an oath of loyalty to defend the Constitution, and your rights go away. You become property of the United States government. Google UCMJ if you don't think that I know what I'm talking about. And those Lee Greenwood words, I'm with you to the end because I love this country. So there's no, and again, the media, they know Walz is a mistake. They know Walz is a big giant Greg Ferrara. They know this goof. And I don't understand what the modern Democratic Party is. You look at Kamala and she's woke. You look at Kamala and it's kissing the ring of the squad. You look at Walz and he's supposed to be, Mr. Magoo, Mr. Butterfield, Mr. whatever, and he's putting feminine devices in fourth grade bathrooms for little boys. Because you never know, a little boy might walk around and a little girl might, go through an issue and he'll just give her one because he's just being a Boy Scout or a Scout these days. We can't call them Boy Scouts anymore. We got rid of the Scouts. Thank goodness for the Girl Scouts. Not to besmirch the great work of Scouts, but they all became politically correct, unfortunately. Think about this for a moment. Here we have, he deserves to be swift voted because when you're in the military, you have high standards. Now, maybe today, the good ones are hanging in there because of the woke. But there's nobody but Tim Walz knew that he was going to be deployed. Walzy decided, whoa, I'm going to waltz on out of here. And he did. Then Walzy made the bad move. Bad move, Walz. Bad Walz. You're a bad Walz. And what did Walz do? He became a poser. Because it wasn't enough serving in the military. Walzy decided that he needed to lie about going into battle. There are thousands of people across the country in our state that have served. You're under attack. You're under pressure from home. Your employer is trying to hang on to keep your job. There's a lot of things that go into deployment, especially with the Guard and Reserve. I'm a Guard and Reserve homer. By the way, an incredible ceremony over the weekend where you had the largest ever deployment of the Guard, the 116th Combat Cavalry Brigade. It's only taken me 15 years to get that unit right. Honored the service of those that went, and of course, Carrie French, who died serving Idaho and serving her country. But instead of focusing in on the people that made America great, let's give Kamala a big hug and watch Tom Cruise jump off the roof of the Olympics and go, yay, LA, yay, LA. Are you kidding me? But we have spoon-fed everybody so much sugar bear, sugar honey, sugar everything else, that this is what we get. People don't want to be involved because if you're involved, you are toxic. If you are involved, you are a bad person. Walzy should have not lied about weapons of war, PTSD, Bagram, going to Iraq, and everything would be fine. You would say in the old days, pre-woke America, Walzy was a coward. Walzy was not a command sergeant major. Walzy is a flaming liberal. And he should be happy to say, I'm a flaming liberal. I chose myself over my unit. And everybody would be happy about that. Walzy. But instead, Walzy lied. And Walzy tried to take credit for something he didn't do. It's kind of like people cheating when they go take a test. We'll talk more about that coming up. Kevin Miller in the morning. We're going to have our friend Gage Klipper from the Daily Caller next. Radio, some great stories on our website, especially if you love Yellowstone, the latest about Yellowstone. First, our great friend Ron Grant joins us now.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And Ron, it's a roller coaster. It's a casino. A lot going on. How do we keep our money safe, sir?
That's the big question, buddy. But I've been on talk radio for over 14 and a half years educating people on just how to do that. If you're over 50, in my opinion, stop chasing returns of the Wall Street casino and worry about getting a guaranteed lifetime income that you can't outlive. The top 1% of our nation Kevin, gets income from multiple sources. And we want to make sure that everyone understands there's a better way to keep their money safe where they can't lose the principal, they can't lose any gains that they've already earned, and we get that lifetime income. You know, I provide for myself and my clients a lifetime of security thanks to a lifetime of income that traditional retirement plans just don't offer. And right now, through August 26th, one of the top insurance companies out there is offering a thank you bonus for moving your money over with them. It's a 47% bonus that they're offering for you, and it's powerful. But more than that, it's an income stream that you can't outlive. And you know what? When you pass away, whatever's left will go to your beneficiary. So it's important to have income, guys, and an income stream that you can't outlive.
And Ron, if people want to get a hold of you, what can they do?
Well, I've got a great educational website that I put together. There's videos there that they can take a look at. There's articles there that they can read. There's a book that they can download, 10 Things to Know About Retirement Income. There's some testimonials on there that they can listen to. And they can email me from the site. That's safermoneyspecialist.com. Or let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley, 208-660-1372.
Ron, have a great day. Thank you.
You too, buddy. Take care.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Joining us now, Gage Klipper from the Daily Caller. Gage, how are you, sir?
Hey, Kevin. Good. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man. Appreciate everybody from the Daily Caller. As I like to proudly brag, I'm a proud paid supporter, so we love what y'all do. And, you know, you've got a very interesting gig, commentary and analysis, and I'll just go to your headline. Trump has some hilarious nickname options for Tim Walz.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I feel like I'm doing his job for him maybe a little bit. He's slow on this nickname trigger for the first time maybe ever. But, I mean, look at this guy. He's got so much to run with.
I would agree with you. I'm sorry, Gage. You go ahead, please, sir.
Yeah, you know, we have so many to go with, you know, the military service, the China thing. And then, of course, he looks like a doofus, too. So, you know, just stick with the classics. Trump is always great with those. So we listed a few, but my personal favorite is Tiny Tim. You know, it's right up Trump's alley. You know, it would even be better if he has tiny hands, but, you know, just on looks alone, Tiny Tim was a singer from Trump's heyday. It's right. It's a cultural reference right up his alley. And look at the guy. He's like a freak with the long hair and the teeth. So if you could put that image in voters' minds, especially from that, age demographic who are scarily looking like they might turn out for Kamala, then, they'll run the other way if they think of Tiny Tim when they look at that guy.
Well, of course, obviously a good one, Tampon Tim, Tiananmen Tim, which you bring up.
Those are two more.
You bring up a good one. I'm sorry, Gage. You go ahead, bro.
Oh, no, you go ahead. Yeah, those are two great ones, too. Tampon Tim, Tiananmen Tim. He's the guy who put tampons in boys' bathrooms, and not even older boys. He's fourth grade. They shouldn't even know what this is, and yet he's putting tampons in their bathroom. You know, in fourth grade, if they put tampons in the boys' room, we'd be doing some crazy stuff with that, and now they want to teach them about gender transition.
Yeah, it's crazy when we're talking about this. Gage Klipper joining us from the Daily Caller. I urge you to check out his work today. Let's go to Tiananmen Tim because, as you point out, sir, he's got a long history with the Chinese.
Exactly. You know, he's a public school teacher. He took 30 or so trips to China in a short period. You know, and the corporate media is spinning it as, oh, he just cares about human rights. He's a voice for change in China. He's a bold activist standing up to the regime. But who's paying for that? He's going over there 30 times. You know, that you can't afford that on a public school teacher salary. You can't afford that on an activist salary. And then if that's not enough of a tell, he goes over there for his honeymoon to commemorate the 5-year anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Give me a break. You know, that's, of all the talk of Trump as a Russian asset, there's at least legitimate questions to be asking here.
Well, you do. And since, let's talk about your other piece on the Daily Caller, Gage. It's, China has surpassed us on one critical issue.
Yeah, and it's kind of half joking there, but it is a really serious issue. for the first time ever, China overtook us on protein consumption per capita. So they very narrowly edged us out. It's a matter of less than a gram of protein, which is a tiny amount. They get 124.6 something grams of protein per capita, and we're at 124.25, something like that. But taking it into the broader picture, that's a huge swing. Only a couple decades ago, they could barely feed their people, and now they're eating as much, chicken and beef as we are. And add into the fact that their population size is 3 times ours, and despite what you see in the opulent cities, they're still a hell of a lot poorer. So it really is a feat that they've managed to do that. And we have all of this talk about lab-grown meat and Beyond Burgers, and the cool thing to do now is go vegan. You got every little shop now these days has some sort of vegan option. But, that's not going to build a strong population. We need protein. We need steak and eggs. That's what it's about.
Gage, do you think that they have toxic masculinity in China?
Well, I think what our pink-haired freaks would call toxic masculinity in China is just what they'd call masculinity, and that's something we should take a note on.
I would agree.
They're not even... Yeah.
No, I would agree with you. They've gone from, the vegetables and the rice to steak and eggs, and God bless them, I guess.
Exactly, and it's kind of ironic. This is a civilization that for thousands of years survived on the rice paddies and estrogenic soybeans. This is the country that brought us tofu. But meanwhile, we're the land of the bison, the buffalo, the land of plenty of Texas barbecue, and we're reverting back to that, where we're putting soy in everything now, and we're eating less meat.
Well, and there seems to be an attack on meat. Gage Klipper joining us from the Daily Caller. How do you write this article? Because it's brilliant when you're, again, it's tongue-in-cheek, but you've got a lot of facts here, and I love the end of this sentence here, why you must eat the bugs.
Yeah, that's what they want. They want us to be a weak, malnutritioned population. They don't want us eating protein. They want us eating soy bars and not doing... And it's not even just about the protein. It's about the self-sufficiency. It's about being in tune with nature and just eating whole, fresh, real food. They want us dependent on this chemical infrastructure where we're just eating made-up things that they provide us and never complain about it. And really, when it all just boils down to control. It's not that China's not doing that too. Of course they are. But why would we want to be more like China?
Well, it seems to be we are with this one-party rule. Gage, what should we be looking out for, and what are you working on next for the Daily Caller, sir?
Well, we have some interesting stuff coming up today. Today, look out. I'm working on a piece on UK riots and all the upheaval we've seen there coming out. And that's really not that far off for our own country. We think we have the First Amendment, but sadly, the Kamala Waltz ticket is so much farther to the left than even the Biden administration, and they would love to have these UK-style hate speech laws, and we're really not that far off, so I'll make that argument later today, and your listeners can check that out. And then also, I'm the tongue-in-cheek culture guy as well, as you can see, and I do have my newsletter. It comes out every Tuesday, Cultured, where listeners can get a hot take on, movies, books, any history, anything like that, through a right-wing lens. You can bypass all of the left-wing cultural commentary, and that's cultured.dailycaller.com. Sign up. And it's one email, one essay every week on Tuesdays.
All right, let me hit you with this one. I'm looking over your stuff. I love this one. Washed-up actor offers insanely cringe reason for donating $150,000 to Kamala.
Oh, yeah, that's a funny one, too. Ben Stiller. And, we all sort of love him. Meet the Parents, Zoolander. And Gen Z might not know who he is. He's a bit washed up these days. When's the last time he's done something big? And he made the most ridiculous comment on a Comedians for Kamala podcast. It just seems like he's striving for relevancy. He says, "Oh, I'm a white Jewish kid. I wish I was black." And that's why he's donating to Kamala. And, it's so pathetic. Who does that really appeal to? If you're white, it definitely doesn't appeal to you because you're thinking, the dutiful white liberal that he's trying to make that appeal to. just thinks like, oh, is this racist? Am I allowed to laugh at this? Is this funny? No, I should feel bad. And then it definitely doesn't appeal to black people either. It's so condescending and patronizing. He talks about being black like a 5-year-old boy talks about being a cowboy or an astronaut. And, who wants to hear that? But I think the funniest thing is, how does he even have $150,000 to donate? He hasn't done anything in years. Is he mortgaging the house just to virtue signal to his fellow Hollywood comedians?
Gage, we appreciate you, brother. We would love to have you back.
Great. Thanks for having me, Kevin. Great talking with you.
All right. Gage Klipper, love him. Great insight there. And by the way, just going back to the Daily Caller here for a minute, I'm looking at just some of their merchandise, which is pretty funny. Let me just share this with you. I know Clay and Buck talk about, Davy Crockett coffee, and everybody has their own coffee brand. Do we have a coffee brand here, Sweet William? No, we don't. Okay. Here's the title of their coffee. Epstein didn't brew himself. Introducing Epstein Didn't Brew Himself Breakfast Surveillance Blend, the perfect gift for anyone with a penchant for conspiracy or a dark sense of humor. Who knows who isn't watching? Kevin Miller.
And that is why the Tim Walz actually came up with this term weird, because Democrats for so long have brought a sort of a knife to a gunfight when it comes to the rhetoric of Donald Trump, and they're trying to be more in that space.
But also, look, J.D. Vance spends way too much time online and spends way too much time with people who are online. So a lot of what he says is going to be incomprehensible to you unless you participate in or have some acquaintance with this strange underworld that he comes from. So when the point to the, I'm going to say this because it's not nice, it's not true, but what he's trying to suggest is that Tim Walz is a sexual deviant of some kind.
What are you talking about?
By the way, this is David from CNN on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. You have to wonder. You have to wonder about Walz, and the reason why he's taking a look at this is Walz is all about the transitions. Walz is all about taking kids away from their parents, like Newsom, if they ain't down with switching teams, literally. And we're talking about the bacon being committed, not the chicken being committed. The egg over the bacon. The bacon much more committed than the eggs. Let's take a listen more of David Frum, who I believe, if he wasn't a Republican, just one of the most strident liberals ever. I might be getting him mixed up with somebody else, but here he is saying that Tim Walz is a sexual deviant, so let's throw in the pedophile stuff as well, the laws against that or whatever was going on in Minnesota.
That's what he's trying to imply. Of course, no. That is what
No, that's ridiculous. Like, okay, look at Donald Trump. Deviant. No, first of all, Tim Walz started this whole weird line attack. Look at Donald Trump. Online. We spent 3 months and 3 weeks on Brat Summer, and you're going to sexual deviant. That is ridiculous.
If you want to understand this is just as a point of analytic understanding, not to look at Donald Trump Jr.'s Twitter feed to understand what the underworld, the lava coming up from the ugliest parts of American life are, and what they're trying to suggest. The point to that J.D. Vance. When he says, I want to talk about policy. He's a candidate who's trying to say, when I said that the unemployed are a bunch of lazy louts swilling beer on the couch at 9 a.m., what I meant to say is this country needs to do a better job of creating work for people. That everything is couched as
Well, look, everything is couched in politics. That's what being a political person is. By the way, you go down to what Walz is doing, that wouldn't work in Idaho, wouldn't work in any other part of the country. I love this. Today, normal to greet your wife with a firm handshake and a bro hug. Backslap. Tim Walz isn't weird at all, guys. That's Donald Trump Jr. Again, online stuff is important to a degree. Is it going to turn the tide? Not this time around. Maybe next time. Maybe when we have the LA Olympics or what have you. Mike in Boise with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Still employed, Mike, and you?
Good. Well, still self-employed. So I wanted to comment on the points you made. I've been thinking for a while, and I think you did a good job. And so it's the Walz stolen valor thing. So my nephew, also my best friend, he's a retired cop. He's also a Marine. And so it got to the point, we'd be talking on the phone at times, and he'd answer a call. So I was kind of like on the front line with him. But there was a time where I was pretty concerned about getting that call that might come and thinking about how I would handle that, which wouldn't be very well. And so the thing is with him is I knew he would answer that call. Absolutely. He wouldn't say, no, I'm busy. I can't, officer down. Sorry, I'm busy with a traffic ticket here. So I knew he was at high risk. And so the 24 years of Walls, that had meaning in the sense that, yes, he took an oath. And he, like my neighbors, Army National Guard, I think he would answer that call. But his family, maybe he's gone long. I don't think he's ever been deployed. Maybe he won't. But they all have to live with the fact that he might be called to the front line. And I think with a police officer, that's a more real threat because they're on the front line so much, and maybe less as the National Guard. But that is a reason to thank them for their service. When they don't answer the call, then that's it. I would never. If I thank a vet for his or her service, it's because they would answer the call, and they and their family had to live under that for whether it's 24 years or less, that might happen. But what service did Walls give? I mean, he bailed. He didn't volunteer. He was paid. So what service are we thanking him for? So I think in his instance, you hit the key point. It's off. I would never thank him for his service. There wasn't any. He didn't answer the call. He was a coward. And if I recall, some of the people that came forward that were in that unit said that cost them lives because they had to, whoever stepped in his place was inexperienced. But even if it didn't, I mean, that's what it boils down to. You hit it. You take an oath. That's the service we're thanking them for, even if they don't go to the front line. But as you pointed out, there's one or two brownie points if you did.
Well, not only that, but you don't lie about it.
Well, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that takes it a step further. But that's been well said, and that alone is that's a big deal right there. But I don't want to hear about, well, he served for 24 years. To me, that's all canceled out. And so now we have an election. We have somebody like that, and on the ticket. I know he's a VP, and look what he did. And we got somebody else that took the bullet. So let's translate that. I mean, that's what we need. There's a lot going on in the world, and at the end of the day, when we all want our personal self-interest taken care of as well, is somebody going to turn and run, or just take whoever pays them off, or are they really going to be the warrior for us? So I want the warrior. I don't want what I call a wino. I don't want a warrior in name only. I want to know somebody that's a proven entity that will take the bullet for us, even if it's figuratively.
All right, Mike, thank you for the call. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. Stop freaking, call Beacon. Patriot, we like to call him our own Mr. Wonderful, Tea Party Bob.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. How are you today?
Well, we're still here, and you?
Well, I'm listening very carefully to some of the things you're saying, and I have to say, the news media get more interesting every day. You know, it was 1949 when Albert Einstein said, and I quote, "There will come a time when the rich will control all the media, and it will make it impossible for the public to make an informed decision." I would say that we have reached that time he was talking about. You know, the truth no longer matters because the truth has become whatever the corporate media says it is. Think for a minute about all the lies that the mainstream media puts out in just one day, and they repeat these lies over and over until it permeates the average American to the point where they begin to believe them. So your example of the three networks working in coordination to press an issue is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. They will ask Vance about slurs on his wife, but the primary message they are trying to get across is that Donald Trump had a meeting with Fuentes, a white supremacist, at Mar-a-Lago. This is pure and simple propaganda, no different than what Joseph Goebbels put out for Hitler to sway the public opinion against Jews. So if you were to do a search of the ties between corporate media and the Democratic Party, I think you would be very surprised at the intermarital relationships between the top executives and those that are attached to the top end of the Democrats in the party. The news we get from the major corporate media broadcasters has become opinion-based and biased, fashioned into a message they want to project, which you could call PAC journalism. So think about how they treated Bernie Sanders when he was vilified and also ignored by these media companies so they could get Hillary to the front of the line in 2016. You know, many times we find these media giants giving opinions that sound like fact, which can do enormous harm, not only through distortion, but by omission. You know, it no longer matters to them if something is true or not. As far as they're concerned, what they say is the truth, and they will repeat it over and over again till you believe it. And we should be thankful for the fact that we still have news media like Newsmax and talk radio shows like yours and Lars, as they are some of the few places that the public can tune in and get the truth. So I thank you, Mr. Miller, and Lars also, for being a beacon of truth amongst a very dark liberal media. And I thank you for my time.
Well, back to what do you foresee? We're going to have batten down the hatches for the next couple weeks, especially when the libs have their big convention. You got Obama, Hillary.
Thanks, Obama.
You got the whole crew. The only people missing are you and me.
I don't plan on going to that convention, but, you know, you have to think back, and I go back to Obama in 2008 and his famous saying, hope and change. Well, if Kamala gets elected, he's going to have his fourth term to get this done because he does want change, and he doesn't want any hope for us who don't like it. We're between a rock and a hard place right now, and I only hope that Trump will stay on message and talk about the important issues and not get involved in these aggravating back and forths with the Democrats, because it's not going to help. If he stays on message, I think we can win this election. But if he doesn't, I don't have an awful lot of hope. So I'm going to say my prayers, my friend, and we'll see where we go from here.
Well, I think it's going to be a giant freak show, and in a weird way, I got to say I'm looking forward to it.
It will certainly be something to be remembered.
Yeah.
But whether it's going to be a good memory or a bad memory, that has yet to be seen.
Well, and look, you are our Trump expert here, so let me put you on the spot. I mean, the idea that he's, going after her personally when, the meat is right in front of you. The economy.
Exactly. And that's where he should be. Going after Kamala, and that's typical Trump. He hasn't changed. He thinks he's still a TV star and not a politician, and he needs to change that. He had some of the best policies we have ever had, and one of the best economies we saw in 40 or 50 years. But they're going to try and get him to go off message as much as they can. And that's where the damage will be done. Hopefully, Vance will stay on message. He's one of the few. I listen to him quite a bit. He has a good message, and he gets it out there. People are actually listening to him.
Well, we will see there, little buddy. Batten down the hatches. It's going to be a rough couple weeks.
I'm sure it will, my friend. You have yourself a wonderful day.
God bless our great friend Tea Party Bob. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. I was going to play a clip by J.D. Vance, but this is something nonpartisan that any law enforcement, anybody in our great area will tell you about, this fentanyl thing. And Fox Nation has this latest documentary series spotlighting the godfather of fentanyl. And you wonder, where did fentanyl come from? I guess it's been around since 1991. Ooh, spooky music.
Police are warning of a new toxic drug, a drug that can kill within seconds.
Emergency rooms are seeing more overdoses than ever before. Do you know where it comes from?
No, this is a new brand.
They're searching rooftops with helicopters and abandoned buildings on foot for people who may have taken the drug.
I have never seen, up to that point in my career, this type of crisis.
Officials worried it is a new synthetic super drug.
My analysis concluded that it was fentanyl.
Fentanyl.
So, where's it coming from?
47-year-old George Marquardt is the alleged kingpin.
Marquardt really was a real live Walter White.
Josh didn't seem like the type.
He was the genius, the chemist, the mad scientist.
He figured out a simple process to flood the United States with all the fentanyl in the world.
Fentanyl came onto the scene because of George Marquardt.
It's scary to think that something like that could happen right here.
He never expressed remorse, never said he was sorry, because he wasn't.
If I did not know that every bit of it was true, I probably would not believe it myself.
This is the true story of the deadliest clandestine chemist in American history and the birth of the street fentanyl epidemic. It's told by the man who created it.
This is a product that was made for killing people.
So you feel like you were able to successfully pull that off for how long?
Many years.
I'm John Roberts, and this is the godfather of fentanyl.
Boy, it makes you want to subscribe all the way to already to Fox Nation if you're not a subscriber already. But, you know, there are so many problems in America that our forefathers solved. You know, we take a look at the people that have gone to war, that have come back. Let's as Tom Brokaw calls them, and he's right, the greatest generation. When you think about the greatest generations in America, I'd say there are three. Obviously, the Founding Fathers, obviously the Civil War, and obviously World War II. And then when you take a look at the World War II generation, not only did they liberate the world, and then some of them went on to fight in Korea, but they came home, had kids, created the blue-collar working class folks, and they created the baby boom, the people of the 60s. Some good, not so good. But those people, I'd say prior to 1968, prior to 1970, Americans always solved our problems. Americans would not have allowed fentanyl to creep in. Those Americans. We know where fentanyl is coming from. It's coming from China. We know where fentanyl is being, who the distributor is. It's Mexico. We know that fentanyl has killed more Americans than in the Civil War, than in World War II, and sadly continues to kill people. We have our brave law enforcement, first responders, teachers, parents, all over the place worried about fentanyl. It is horrible. You can't tell me that, and as I've said before many times, you can't tell me as an American at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, that if we did not want to solve this problem, that we would solve this problem. And once again, if the media had the smallest amount of attention directed at eradicating fentanyl, the fentanyl menace that they do in protecting walls, fentanyl would be done. Who's the bigger creep, the media or the libs that they protect, the propaganda? Now, thankfully, you're seeing the dissolving of the media today. You have people that are becoming their own media outlets. So it's not as corporately controlled, and that scares a lot of people. You talk to Clay Travis and talk about what he did. He created an entity that he sold for $50-60 million. It worked out well for him. It doesn't work out that well for everyone. You have people that do small microsites that are telling the truth. Our friend Pete from Mountain Home. Pete, if you're still listening, talked about somebody actually threatening Americans. Let's take a listen. Threatening Americans when it comes to speech.
We will throw the full force of the law at people. And whether you're in this country committing crimes on the streets or committing crimes from further afield online, we will come after you.
Talk to me about that, because we have seen some high-profile figures whipping up the hatred. You talked about it in there with the officers, in fact, about this being added to by online commentary. I mean, I'm even thinking of the likes of Elon Musk getting involved. What are you considering when it comes to dealing with people who are whipping up this kind of behaviour from behind a keyboard, maybe in a different country?
Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the law. You can be guilty of offences of incitement, of stirring up racial hatred. There are numerous terrorist offences regarding the sort of publishing of material. All of those offences are in play if people are provoking hatred and violence on the streets, and we will come after those individuals just as we will physically confront on the streets the thugs and the yobs who are taking...
Right, this guy, London Metropolitan Police Commissioner Mark Rowley, saying he's going to come after Americans. I don't know if anybody watched 60 Minutes last night, but they were talking about the silk spiders and all these strange names of these groups that are on Telegram that are, hackers, and they're young hackers, and they're working with the Russians. Now, I don't know if they're, down with the Russians or they're useful idiots, but they held up, one of the big casinos. Caesars actually paid them $15 million. The other casino, the big rival of Caesars, didn't, and they lost over $150 million because of the ransom and everything else. Pro-Life, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
Yeah,
Good morning, Kevin. How are you? I'm well, Pro-Life. How are you?
Yeah. Well, I'm good, and it's nice you're back there on the radio, and I've been listening this morning, and it's good that our friends are healing up, Anyway,
I know. We got Doug. We got Liberal Steve. Dennis Mansfield saying he's going to go under. This is good.
Oh, really?
We're getting people back, yeah.
Well, I'm not going to go under because I'll just die of whatever. I won't go to the doctor and even find out what killed me. But
you're going out. That's what you're doing. You're going out.
Yeah, right.
Brought to you by Pfizer.
There you have it. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Tim Walz is the biggest liar. He in his governorship, he arranged these laws that say that if a child runs away from their state and comes to Minnesota and wants to transition, they'll hold him and protect him and won't tell the parents. And if you're in school, you don't have to tell your parents about changing your pronouns or any kind of, if you're going to change your sex or if you're a gay or whatever. So it's just LGBTQ.
Did you say a gay? I thought it was the gay, but it's a gay or the gay?
Yeah, a gay. It's a gay free for all. And
wait a minute, in Minnesota, the gays are running wild and free and naked and frolicking?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right.
Well, maybe you need to go there and tell them to stop.
Yeah, I wish I could. But anyway, and he was, as a principal, he was the first, school administrator in Minnesota to, maybe he was the superintendent of schools, but anyway, he started the first gay-straight alliance at West Mankato High School. And he's just, and he's for murdering babies right up until the time that they are born, maybe even after, because I noticed in one release that Minnesota finds that quite a few babies born in the second trimester, murdered in the second trimester through abortion, were born alive and they let them die. So they don't have any rules about anything. You just wild and free, kill everybody, and have sex with whatever you want to, and they are just a sick place. And, rather than emphasize his military record, I think you ought to emphasize his moral record. It's deplorable.
Well, he doesn't really have a military record. Look, here's the deal. Life is about choices.
Yeah.
Now, he decided to peace out and retire instead of doing his duty. And then he lied about it. You know, if you want to say, I'm not going with my band of brothers to deployment, that is a decision that you have to make. But when you lie about it, when you're a liar, well, that's a little different. What do you make of this guy from Europe saying, if you post something online, he's going to come arrest you? Would you let this guy from London come get you?
Well, how could he come to the United States and get us?
He's going to extradite you.
London. Yeah, right. I don't think he can do that. But anyway, they're totally, you know, if you go and stand in front of an abortion clinic, just stand there, and you're praying in your mind. You're not even mouthing the words or anything. The police will come, and they will ask you if you were praying about stopping babies from being killed. And if you say, yeah, in my mind I was praying that the babies would stop being murdered, they'll cuff you and take you away. Right?
You've been arrested for praying in Idaho?
No. But in London, you do. In England.
Oh, well, dude, that's why we got rid of the king and all those London people.
Yeah. They're mushheads over there. They lost their whole kingdom because they were mushheads.
And they still got that king, dude. He my king.
Yeah. Right. He's kind of a pervert himself. So anyway.
Whoa!
That's true. So anyway, Kevin.
That's your truth.
Yeah, well, we're the world of Sodom and Gomorrah and the United States of Sodom.
What does that make us? We're like the prunes? We're the Puritans?
Yeah, well, no, we're not like anything. We're pretty messed up, and we're going to...
Yeah, you know, you should not have a career as a therapist or a motivational speaker, that's for sure. You would not work well as a motivational speaker.
No, I wouldn't. People would they'd bring fruit and throw it at me.
They not only would do that, they'd throw chicken at you.
Oh, this is the best fried chicken, and I helped.
Yeah, and I couldn't catch any of it and eat it because I'm a vegetarian. So
well,
I guess
you don't even eat bugs.
No, and I don't eat bugs.
You know, you would be good on a show. Would you ever go on Naked and Afraid?
Naked and Afraid. That sounds too weird.
It is. Pro-Life, we love you. Thank you.
God bless. Bye.
God bless. You know, there's a guy in Idaho, and we've done some articles on him. I love this guy, Jeff Zhao. And he's on Naked and Afraid, and last night he's fishing, goes, I'm a mountain man from Idaho. I love fishing. It's a very strange show. Trying to think if we had Naked and Afraid Idaho, Liberal Steve, Tea Party Bob, Pro-Life, Terry from State College, Pennsylvania. We wouldn't even need a cast. We would just, that would be it. Survivor is for sissies compared to Naked and Afraid. Joining us now, he's Naked and Afraid, Liberal Steve. Good morning.
I'm always naked, but I'm never afraid. What a show and a half. So, Harris is up 5 points, huh? Or is it 6 points now?
Wow.
So, you were telling me last year at this time that Trump was going to be president. You lied to me.
It ain't over yet.
Harris.
Look, was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Then it ain't over now.
Yes, it was. Oh, good lordy, lordy. What are you going to do, Miller? You going to move to Canada? Start up a show up there?
I think I'm going to go into sports radio and go, hey, everybody, Boise State's playing Fresno State. What do you think? So much easier than this. And then I would have people calling in going, go Broncos! Not that there's anything wrong with that. I've got my backup career ready.
It's a Saturday Night Live skit.
It's
I got to admit, Chris Rock kind of rocked it out there pretty good, though, but I thought it was Saturday Night Live, especially with the Hulk. You know, his son was picked up for, 3 DUIs? And now he's selling beer in Idaho? Only in America.
I don't even know what he's talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Only Hulk Hogan. Only in America.
How are you doing?
Tomorrow.
What? Hello? Oh, you got that Kamala phone. One more time, Liberal Steve.
What?
Yeah, we didn't hear what you said. Your Kamala phone isn't working.
Oh, sorry. My Kamala phone's not working?
No. What else would you like to say? Anything? I know I'm asking for trouble. Apparently, your ticker's doing okay. How's your heart?
My heart's doing just fabulous. I get opioids. They're giving me opioids.
They're giving you fentanyl?
Oxycontin. Lots of Oxycontin, so I'm feeling no pain. I'm just feeling the gain that I got to make to get Harrison in the pool.
They fixed his heart, but did nothing.
Together.
They fixed his heart, but did nothing to fix his brain. So you would go swimming with Kamala in the pool, Kamala?
Oh God, I'd go swimming naked with her and her husband.
So you would invite them to play Naked and Afraid with you?
I'd say, Kamala, come on over here.
Aren't you married?
I've been married for 50 years to the same woman. It's funny I even have any brains left.